Hello and welcome to the MinnMax Show, a place about games, friends, and getting better. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Kyle Hilliard.
Hey,
the champion returns,
back, baby.
Like MacArthur to the Philippines. We have Leo Vader.
Hello.
And Suriel Vasquez.
Hi.
Welcome, everybody. What a fun crew. This is going to be a fun show. We got a lot of fun games to talk about, and we'll explain whether or not we had fun, and then you, as a listener or viewer, can determine if you want to play the game as well and maybe have fun for yourself. It's all just a fun gamble here. That's what podcasting
Kyle and Suriel, you guys need to be smiling more, just so we're having more fun.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great.
We're going to be talking about Watch Dogs Legion, Leo's most anticipated game of the year, Crash Bandicoot 4, Star Wars Squadrons, the world of Minecraft and Smash Brothers colliding in a big bad way, Baldur's Gate 3. Leo has a new horror game that he's red hot on that I can't pronounce the name of that we'll go into. Phasmophobia, some other odds and ends, and then of course back half of the show we have some great community questions that people submitted to patreon.com/MinnMax. Two ends. Thank you to all of our supporters, and thank you to everybody that listens to the MinnMax Show, watches the MinnMax Show, but also the people that have been watching the deepest dive on Super Mario 64. We have the grand finale coming up this week. It's been a really fun time with Dan Reichert, Ana Diaz, and best friend Ronnie going through that game. And it's been a really fun discussion just to dissect that beloved game. The middle chunk was kind of the dark middle. It was the Empire Strikes Back of the deepest dive discussions, because those levels...
Oh, so it was the best entry.
That's right. Well, some may say. But those levels were tough. But we're coming up on the home stretch, and there's a lot of really fun, great Super Mario 64 levels at the very end. So thanks to everybody for checking that out on our YouTube channel or in the Patreon exclusive podcast feed. And Kyle, we had an epiphany collectively, because Anna is very big on talking about the DS version of Super Mario 64, and she was talking about how much better it was.
Now, was this before or after you guys made fun of me mercilessly for mislabeling?
Who can remember?
It
Comes up so much, Kyle. But no, on that show where Anna was talking about the DS version of Super Mario 64, and we realized that her name is On a DS, because she kept talking about Ana Diaz, and it's literally her name is Ana Diaz. Like, it's crazy, isn't it? We got to do something with that. I don't know what it is exactly, but there's something there.
I think the jokes you made there are what you can do, right? Either that or you got to make a shirt at some point.
Make a shirt.
No, we can monetize.
Ana Diaz, Ana Diaz.
We can make money off of this.
This could be the next Suriel series.
Which made everyone here a millionaire, I think, is what happened last time. As soon as you alliterate someone's name.
But here's some...
That is weird.
Thank you. Here's some crazy news. We normally like to space out our deepest dives, really let them sink in. There's a lot to digest there. We need to unpack these huge game club discussions, the best, most thorough discussions about games on the internet, we'd argue. But we realized, you know what? Between Super Mario 64 and whatever the big holiday/fall deepest dive is going to be, we can squeeze in one more. And so we're announcing a new deepest dive right here, right now. Leo's joining me. Some other folks will be joining us. It'll be a fun time. And on this deepest dive, we're tackling everything. But not the game that Double Fine produced where you run around as a tree, whatever the hell that is. We are tackling everything. This is going to be the first multimedia deepest dive where we're doing the thing. So it is going to be a 3-week event. So on October 20th, we're covering the original story, 1938 short, Who Goes There, which you can get on Audible. You can get it as an ebook. It shouldn't be too hard to get if you want to get that. And also the original film called The Thing from Another World, 1951. Then the week after that, which is October 26th, we're tackling what I would consider the greatest horror film of all time, John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. Then the week after that, we're covering the video game, the tabletop game, the prequel film, and also its impact on, Among Us, other games like that, just general impact of The Thing. I know it sounds like a lot, and I know you might be saying, my God, I can't play through the video game and play a tabletop game. I think I've played that video game before. For that third week, it's okay just to watch Let's Plays, especially tabletop gaming, during the pandemic. I know it's going to be difficult. You can play it on Tabletop Simulator if you want. Otherwise, just watch some videos. It'll be a lighter discussion there, but it's going to be the deepest dive into The Thing, which I'm very excited about, expanding beyond the world of video games for the first time here.
So I
am most excited about that prequel movie.
Yeah, have you ever seen it?
I'm most looking forward to. No.
I haven't either. I know that the guy who played the young Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber is in it. I think that's all I really know about that prequel film, so I'm excited about it. Kyle, actually, I haven't finished the Thing video game. I got to the very end and I forgot to pick up a sniper rifle. And so I just boned myself and I couldn't do anything. Like I couldn't progress. And this was back in like 2002 or whatever, so.
Just like in the movie.
Just like in the film. So it should be a very fun time. And I can't wait. We have a guest lined up for that first episode that I've always wanted to talk to this person. It's a person from the game industry that loves horror, and it should be a wonderful time. So yes, the deepest dive for The Thing will be starting on October 20th. If you want to read along, play along, watch along, and submit a comment for us to read in our discussions, you can support us at any tier on Patreon. It should be a fun time. Thanks, everybody, for being on board for that wild ride that we're about to go on. Leo, we haven't really talked about this yet, but should we get meta about it and make every discussion for the deepest dive like somebody is the thing? Or is there some game we can play, in a fun way?
I think one of you should say it's clobbering time every time you start the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's right. The fourth week is all about the thing and how much he loves clobbering.
I think one of the 5 boxes or whatever of videos, one of them should be a little gray alien. And you have to figure out which one's the alien. I don't know if that's...
There's just one person on the Discord call that is the alien or whatever, but it's they never talk, they never say anything, but they're just kind of hanging out there.
Yeah,
then at the end we vote on who it was.
Look, we're gonna have some fun. I promise. Leo Vader,
Hi.
Big batch of Watch Dogs Legion trailers dropped, previews dropped. The game's coming out October 29th. As somebody who has not only dissected every frame of gameplay that's ever been released about Watch Dogs Legion, but you also had a Watch Later video. Your video essay series last week was about Watch Dogs Legion. What did you learn from this new wave of info here?
A lot of stuff. It feels like, I don't know that this is what happened, but it feels like they did that wave of Watch Dogs Legion stuff in July after Ubisoft Forward. A ton of people came out with gameplay and everything. And then they saw the feedback from that and took it to heart and then came out with this batch of info that answered everybody's questions they still had and assuaged people's fears. Because my biggest thing coming out of Ubisoft Forward was it looks great, but everybody's got the same characters. Every video you watch, which I did watch every video you could watch, it was I've got a construction worker who's got a wrench and a drone, and I've got a spy who's got a silenced pistol.
Right.
Pretty cool. And which is cool, but it's I already feel like I've seen everyone in this game. I've seen people walk around with the profiler to see everybody's traits, and they all seem to fit a similar mold. But now it's I don't know if that was a restricted part of the simulation, they didn't have it fully open for people or something, but the way it is now and the way it is in the footage that came out this past week has completely satisfied me. There is so much variety, and even in the established archetypes, there's so much variety within those and different versions of people that people are getting.
Yeah. So just for zooming out a little bit. So this is
sure.
Leo, I think it's important to let people know this is an open world game from Ubisoft. But if you forget what the hook with this one is, it's something that takes place in London and you can recruit anybody and play as any NPC in the game, which for a year and a half now, people have been we'll see. And you feel now you feel confident that this is happening, baby.
Oh, it's happening. Yeah, try and pick it apart. I dare you. But it's been really exciting, not just seeing the simulation working and more gameplay of more people trying, different things, but there's so much weird stuff in there that really reminds me of Streets of Rogue. That game feels more and more like a little indie template for Watch Dogs Legion, which was a similar, for those who don't know, was a similar kind of more roguelike-y, but similar systems where every character has traits and you can come in as a bunch of different heroes with a bunch of different traits and interact with the systemic world in a different way.
Yeah.
And now we've got street magician characters we've seen who can hypnotize NPCs.
What?
Not NPCs, but PCs. But literally go into a base, tap somebody on the shoulder, wave a pocket watch in front of them, and they'll start shooting their friends.
It's a fun
Or they've
game.
been showing custom takedown animations, and if you choose to take someone down, you just dangle the pocket watch and snap, and they fall asleep on the ground. And that's the hypnotist takedown animation.
Didn't you say in your Watch Later video as well that you can take over a base or invade a base or infiltrate a base by capturing every single NPC there?
Yeah, that was in an interview. The lead producer said you could do that. Is just convert everybody to your side, and then you can walk right in.
Insane. But isn't it also a thing where you can't get everybody out of the gate? Like, it's not like start the game, you're walking the streets, and you're like, I want you, I want you, I want you. It's like a tiered system or something, right?
Well, everybody needs to be won over, and they have their affinity with DedSec. And when they say recruit everyone, something that may have changed about that, or something maybe they're only talking about now, is that people can reach the point of not being recruitable if they hate DedSec enough. If you kill a character's wife, you're not gonna be able to win them over by clearing their gambling debt.
Lame. Cyril, have you seen much footage of this game?
I've seen a little bit. I saw like a lot of the stuff that we saw at E3, but I haven't seen a ton of recent stuff. But I like the idea that you're basically using characters as different skills instead of like, oh, this person can do everything. But it's like you're kind of putting together a team versus like, I'm the super powered guy with like 8 different branches, like skill tree branches that let me do whatever.
Yeah. And I like that it seems like you can, save NPCs for like, oh, I'll capture you later. Isn't there some weird system like that, Leo?
Yep. You can add them to your contacts and choose to follow up with them or not. There really have been a lot of interesting interviews that have come out of this latest batch of content. And it's been about things like, they call it their recasting system, where you'll interact with a character,
Did they use that in the new Spider-Man game? Oh! Sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please. But it has to do with the people you add to your contacts or interact with in any meaningful way. It will take people from their life and kind of weave them into the things you end up doing in the future. Like you might end up bumping into their probation officer, like someone who would just be a random NPC is now their brother. And if you save them, this character will like you a lot more. It's things like that are outside of the mission structure of, I want to start a recruitment mission and go do this favor for you. More organic, like in the world ways to manipulate how people feel about you, which is like one of the things I was kind of worried about out of that original batch was like, is it just gonna be doing the same missions to get people to like me? But the more it lets you play with the systems and not only that, but do these missions in different ways as different characters with different abilities, that's what I'm looking forward to. And that's what I'm really, really feeling good about coming out of this past week.
It's weird to think of like Watch Dogs as like an underdog, but maybe I'm just not clued into the right parts of the internet, but I don't feel like there is a huge level of hype outside of Leo's apartment for this game. And I think like even I watched like Easy Allies preview and stuff, and visually it's like, it looks like a Ubisoft game from somewhere in this generation. I always associate Watch Dogs with the original reveal of like, this looks next gen as hell, this looks amazing. And I think like the faces and the world, Kyle, are you with me? It looks a little underwhelming there, but systemically it's a fascinating pitch.
Yeah. I mean, that just might be a product of we're getting ready to upgrade things.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're getting a little sort of used to the current standard of visuals. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. So I watched, they had a video talking about the roadmap, and apparently they're adding co-op in December, like 4-player co-op. That's not going to be there at launch, which I don't know if they've changed the messaging on that or anything.
Yeah, that was something they'd been weirdly silent about, so it's not surprising at all to find out that it's going to be coming later. There's also going to be like a weird spider bot deathmatch mode.
Yeah, what the hell is that?
I don't know who's excited by that.
I'm into it.
That'll be a thing.
I honestly saw that. I'm like, I'll play that dumb thing. That sounds like a good Cody hunt or something.
And also like raid style content called Tactical Ops or something, which is just like, end game stuff for 4-player teams to do. I don't feel strongly about it. It looks like just kind of like bullet spongy drones you're shooting at is all we've seen so far.
Okay. Huh. But you're feeling good about streaming that the day it launches or somewhere around that on MinnMax's Twitch account?
Yes, I'm pre-ordering a big edition that should give me access 3 days early. So once I confirm what day that'll be, we'll want to do it as soon as possible.
That should be fun.
Yeah, I'm dying. I'm so excited. You said earlier it's my most hyped game of the year. I gotta correct you on that. It's my most hyped game of the past 8 years.
Are you serious?
I was trying to think of the last time I've been this hyped for a game, and it was Metal Gear Solid 5, but that was only for about a month before it came out, and this has been over a year now.
Oh, wow. Do you remember what it was about 5? That
wasn't Tony Hawk just a few weeks ago? Like you weren't super excited about that?
No, they had the old Tony Hawk still.
There's 2 other Watch Dogs games.
What was it about Metal Gear like a month before release that turned you on suddenly?
That's when they started showing gameplay, and I was really impressed with the stuff they were doing, like systemically, and the way the controls looked. Like you could tell you had a really fine degree of control, and not only that, but Ground Zeroes is already out.
Yeah.
So it was like playing Ground Zeroes over and over again for that month, getting hyped for 5.
I don't know how common it is, but I was just thinking about Metal Gear Solid 5 again, because I was thinking about my boy, the one and only Ulysses S. Grant. And I read his biography a while ago. I've probably talked about it 300 times because I like to brag that I read a book a couple years ago. But during the Mexican-American War, he stealth horsed a situation where he was like going to like free some soldiers, and he rode on the side of a horse to like avoid getting shot. Snake style. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Classic
But
move.
could he whistle to make them poop on command?
Do it. Do
Yeah,
it, General Lee.
John Wick can do that, and he can also have the horse kick a guy by like clapping it, and that's a cool action sequence. So I feel like there's a long line of people who can do like sick stuff with horses.
Horse whispering.
Yeah.
Do you think I could go like try and ride a horse? I don't know. There's probably I could drive for like 30 minutes and rent a horse, right? And then just immediately try and slide to the side of it. Like, no, don't come get me off. This is what I want.
Just as the person instructing you is like, okay, so now we're at a good, and she looks back, and then you're like straddling on the side.
Whispering, do it into the horse's
Oh, no,
ear.
you're not supposed to do it like that at all. That's, no.
Hey, new consoles are coming, everybody. Kyle, in general, how you feeling about next gen? Do you find yourself getting more excited, less excited? Hyped at all? Where are you at?
I'm excited. It's funny because usually in the past, new consoles has been like excitement around a new game. Like, oh yeah. I can't wait to play. I mean, we kind of laugh at it now, but when 360 was coming out, I was like, I want to play Perfect Dark Zero. I can't wait to play Perfect Dark Zero. I can't wait to play Twilight Princess.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play Breath of the Wild. But this one, like the excitement for me is like much more technical. Like with the Xbox Series X, it's like, I'm excited to have like the best version of this system that will just play every game I own already and stuff like that. And then like the thing with PlayStation 5, it's like I really want to see how that controller works with Astrobot, which feels more technical to me than being excited about a game.
It feels like you could just go to like a demo station.
Yeah, it's not as game focused as much as it is hardware, like literally focused on what the hardware can do this time around.
Yeah, is that because there aren't games to get hyped about?
Well,
that could totally be it for sure. I mean, I'm just excited about generational changes no matter what. So like, I'm just going to kind of focus my excitement where I can focus it. I don't feel like I see some people are just like, I'm not going to get a PlayStation 5 because there's no games. Who cares? And that's a totally valid take. Absolutely. But it's like, it's a new video games, guys. Like, come on. It's a PlayStation with a 5 after it. Let's go.
Yeah, Sony hasn't been the best at messaging it, mainly just because it wasn't in their big presentation. But I think there are definitely those Demon Souls fans that are like, we're ready. Like, we're charging right now. We're ready to go. The idea of having that game at launch at PS5, that's going to be like a huge media experience for a lot of new console owners. That should be fun.
It is weird that is like the biggest launch game of the fall so far, is that like, there's the Demon Souls remake, which at the time people were pretty split on Demon Souls, and for there to be like this fervor around that game is really weird and kind of indicative of like, well, if you're not into super hard RPGs, you kind of don't have a lot because you can play most everything else on PS4 as well.
Yeah. I think just reading a lot of impressions about, a lot of outlets apparently cooler than MinnMax are getting like the Series X and stuff to mess around with. And I've seen a lot of articles where it's like, I'm sold. It's slightly faster load times. This is it. I'm pumped now. It's like, I don't know if everyone's drinking the Kool-Aid. I'm just still in that game of, it'll
it's not
be nice.
Slightly faster though. It's like significantly faster.
I know, but still they have the comparisons between like, Outer Worlds loads times, and it's like, yeah, it'll be fine. I mean, I've just been PC gaming for so long, I guess, that I hate to pull out that dumb card, but it just doesn't feel like a huge shift. And the idea that like that's like the takeaway headline at this point for a lot of impressions is like, it's marginally faster. It's kind of a bummer. It's dampening my enthusiasm a little bit.
Yeah,
everybody get him.
It's interesting to see like between how much of the Xbox coverage was like, oh yeah, like here's all the hardware specs, it like runs hotter, like maybe it's fine or whatever, here's the size of the unit, here's like between that and then Sony today kind of doing this breakdown of the PS5 of like, here's all literally the component parts of the PlayStation. We're going to break one of these down it's interesting to see like a lot of console fans suddenly be really into the hardware aspects of their machines in a way that only PC people are, in to a degree that I don't think we were getting last gen. Of like, we need to figure out what we're going to promote about these consoles, and it's all like how much of a computer they are this time around. And like fans have like latched onto that as like, okay, now I'm really into component parts. Now I'm really into load speeds. Now I'm into these particular things because those are the things that are now standing out about these consoles.
This is the argument I have to make, but I'm not so into it or financially so into it that I want to go for the PC. That's still that next level beyond. But I will watch this PS5 breakdown and take notes.
Yeah. And then I saw the heat sink for that thing, and it's like, that is like, if you saw that on a PC, you would say like, this is a ridiculous PC thing, but because it's on the console, it's like, oh, look how much care they're putting into making sure the PS5 doesn't overheat.
It's nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but to Leo's point, I mean, it's because that's all they can give us.
Right.
They can't really show gameplay because it's not that dramatic of an increase, of an improvement, and there aren't that many games. So like, if people are excited to get new hardware, it's like, this is the only thing they can sell to us.
It's always interesting to think of that as, just a consequence of marketing. Like the ammo that people have in the console wars is purely what marketing gives them.
Yeah. So they had, the PS5 breakdown. I had seen that video. Sony sent out a PS5 to a Japanese YouTuber, I believe. But it wasn't until I saw this PS5 breakdown that it was, oh my God, the PlayStation 5 is big. I don't think I had seen a good point of comparison, but I'm now looking at like the space below my TV and it's like, this is going to be a mess down there. I don't know how I'm squeezing that sucker in. It's huge.
Centerpiece. You put it in the center of the dinner table.
Smart.
And eat around it every day for worship.
I was surprised in the breakdown they showed you can like pop off the plastic bits. There's a part of me where it's like, would it kind of look cooler just to pop those suckers off? Do I really need those on there?
Just have the bare console like that?
Yeah.
With the components exposed?
Yeah, just raw as possible.
What if they start making like custom templates?
I bet they will.
Like,
I bet they will. Maybe.
Here's a camo one so you can hide it.
Make it look like a
360 tried to do. It didn't go that great.
Yeah, for a little while, I guess. But there was some confusion that apparently you have to like remove a screw and remove a little stand to turn your PS5 horizontal. And I want to lay mine horizontal, so it's like interesting that there's like a little piece that you actually have to move. And then slam dunk the center. I don't know if you got this one, Kyle. But then the Xbox Twitter account tweeted, you know how to stand an Xbox Series X horizontal? Yeah, put it horizontal. Like they tried to do like the 2013 E3 slam dunk where it's like, okay, it's not exactly the same, but sure. I think
they did the same thing for memory expansion too, right? Like they had side-by-side GIFs. They're really trying. Really trying to get like the sharing the game, meme going.
One of these will catch on. But then they also revealed that, for the Series X, this is a while ago, I guess, but that idea that if you want to add storage onto the Series S or Series X for an additional terabyte, it's another $220 for that SSD.
Yeah,
it's
which is
basically
overpriced, but not as much as you would think.
Yes. Wait,
because I think that amount for like a NVMe is like maybe $150, $135, depending on where you find it. So it's about twice, but it's like, I mean, I could see if you're using this proprietary tech and it integrates into the console more closely than a regular like SSD would on a PC. I can see why you would charge that much, but it is still kind of this, they're basically like really expensive memory cards that you can put the games themselves on.
Yeah. And then other things like the quick resume apparently is really cool on the Series X. And it depends on how much RAM the games are taking up, but I think it's like between 4 to 6 games. I think like Jeff Bakalar on Beastcast was talking about, you can have in that quick resume state, which seems cool. But then there's that obvious thing.
I think that's going to be one of those things that like it's going to feel kind of invisible. Like it's not going to be something you think about a lot. And then like let's say you turn on your Xbox One or something, or your PlayStation 4 in a couple of years, and you're going to be like, oh, this sucks. You know what I mean? It's going to be that thing that like you really appreciate, but don't like actively talk about and think about a lot.
I think that could be, but there's still the thing that, they brought up on the Beastcast of just, you're still going to have to like log into services. It's not like you can keep, Rocket League on the main screen or Warzone on the main screen. It's still going to have to do that entire network boot sequence for all these games. So how many offline games could you possibly have in quick resume at the same time?
That's what I was just thinking. Like I've effectively always done this with, PS4 rest mode, have just one game always going, and it always like over a variety of different games. It's just like we've noticed that it's not been on and we're going to kick you back to the main menu and log in again.
Yeah, so it'll be a lot more of that, I guess. But still, let us know how you're feeling about next gen in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can write in about it. I'm curious where everybody's at for their hype levels and all that stuff for next gen. There's going to be more news to come, most assuredly.
I'm curious, has anyone mentioned like how the game tells you that like you're running up against that limit of, hey, you're this is your 7th game or whatever that you're trying to quick resume?
Yeah.
Like, does it tell you like, hey, which one of these games would you want to quit out, or like how does that part of it work?
I don't know if it'll just go to the most recent one and then just kind of offload the oldest one.
Or if it tells me like, hey, if you quick resume this game, we'll have to close, Halo or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the iPhone kind of does that now, right? Where it sort of takes care of that for you, like whatever you're using the least, it can. I don't know. I could be wrong about that, but that's a good question. Yeah,
sure. Kyle Hilliard.
That's me.
I am alarmed, and I hope you share this thought about the lack of love out there for Crash Bandicoot 4.
I do.
You've been playing this too?
I beat it last night.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's why I look tired.
Okay, what'd you think of it?
Turns out the last 2 levels of a difficult game are very hard.
Oh, really? Oh, great. I have that to look forward to.
Yeah.
But what do you think of the
game? I'm not even a Crash guy. I really don't have nostalgia for Crash. Crash 4 is the first Crash Bandicoot game I saw to credits.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I am a big Crash guy. Obviously, the original trilogy, just love it. And I'm maybe halfway through this game. I am blown away by it. I've been streaming it for folks at the Backstage Pass on Patreon, but like, this game is incredible. Like, it's a really, really great platformer, and I feel like it's not making big enough of a splash. Like, there are elements in here where it reminds me even of like Rayman Legends, like the New Orleans level, Kyle, where you're like sliding and it feels very much like a musical level from Rayman Legends. Just the production, the animation. I think it's funny. I think the writing's solid, and it's nice to see this relatively big budget being put into a 3D platformer, and they really nailed it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's simple in a way that I just love. Like I've been playing Genshin Impact, and I've been struggling with it because it's so dense.
Yeah. And
like, but then I got Crash, and I was like, I'll play a couple levels, and like I just like ripped through it because I was like, it's just so straightforward and like well done.
Yes.
Like you said, animation is great. The platforming feels good. It like the levels will mix it up. The different characters that you can play as are really good. I really like playing as Tawny, I think the character's name is.
Tawny, yeah.
Because she's got like a zip line, and she can like wall jump and stuff like that. It feels like an older game, because there's not a lot of bells and whistles to it, which I appreciate about it. I like it more for that reason.
But they added new stuff to the Crash formula that works. I mean, just starting you out with a double jump, it's kind of like the Metroided Crash from the end of Crash 3. But just as a side note, it's a classic Lega sequel thing at this point, but them picking up the story beat from the end of Crash 3 is just like the most heartwarming, nostalgic thing of just like, I love Crash and I love Crash 3 and how weird that story is, and the idea that like, okay, now we get to see the ramifications of Neocortex and Uka stuck in time 20 years later or whatever it's been. It's so fun. But where was I going with that? Oh, but just the way that they're making these small tweaks to the formula, just like, okay, now we have crates that will alternate and they'll be on fire, but there's a lot of Wumpa fruit inside, or there'll be a box that'll trigger these, but then those crates will pop on that timer. It's just like very smart little additions to the formula that are really well done. Even like the different masks we talked about on the podcast before, but we were shifting between dimensions with the mask, and then like just really clever bits of level design of like incorporating those with the nitro boxes so you can't touch those and you have to swap them really fast. It's just a lot of really great platforming level design.
So in the first 3 Crash games, if you spin through Wumpa fruit, you do not collect them, right?
Good question. I know in the
it knocks them away, but
you're right.
Your counter doesn't go up, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, because that always bugged me a lot. I never liked that because I felt like it was punishing me for trying to go fast.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get this Wumpa fruit because you're trying to move quickly. So it's like a small thing, but here, like, as long as you touch it, you get the Wumpa fruit. And I was like, okay, thank you.
And they also do the nice thing. Yeah. And sir, I hope you're on board for this tweak to platformers moving forward, but they got rid of lives. So now the lives counter counts up. And so it's just so nice not to have to worry about that, especially playing Mario 64 for the deepest dive. It's like just constantly worrying about that game over coming up. And here it's just like, okay, it's still a really challenging game. It's like, I'd say Crash 2 levels of difficulty, I think is still a good time, or like, you know, somewhere on the Crash spectrum there. But just not worrying about that game over coming is so nice. But then the weird tweak because of that, much like Mario Odyssey, it's no longer like, okay, you don't get another life if you get 100 Wumpa Fruits. So then they have to change what the point of Wumpa Fruits is, and now they changed it to it's just filling basically a meter the more you collect, which lets you unlock skins, which is kind of like how they treated coins in Mario Odyssey. So it's funny that both those games, getting rid of lives, had to come up with something else, and they both are like, skins, costumes, hope I like
progression.
Yeah, something else. But I was a little bit like meh on those skins. Like, I'm not interested. That seems like some real microtransaction nonsense. But then I saw a couple of them. I'm like, oh man, like Crash combined with Engine, or like the old polygonal Crash. It's like, there's enough cool stuff in there that I do end up playing with those.
I also like that counter just as like the Super Meat Boy sort of metric of progress. Like so the last true level, there's an end boss fight, but the last true level, like how many deaths do you think I had trying to finish that level?
33.
No.
8,000.
119.
What?
Yes. Wow. Yeah. So I love that that's there. Like, it's both like, you know, it's both damning in the sense it's like, oh my God, I've tried this level. Like, I've died 119 times through the course of this level, but it's also like, I love having that metric like live while you're playing, you know?
That's insane.
Yeah.
Leo.
So good luck.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. And you're good at games, man. Ugh, I'm worried about this. But Kyle mentioned Tana, who is Crash's girlfriend. So it's this bizarre saga with Tana where she was in Crash 1 and she's basically a characterless Jessica Rabbit figure in Crash 1. Just absurd giant breasts. It's very Naughty Dog, Jason Rubin of that era design. If you go back to some of that Rings of Power stuff, there's kind of
feels forward looking. Like, it feels like something that would really happen in 2020.
Right. Well, yeah. So then she just dropped off the face of the earth. They got Coco, Crash's sister. She's all right. She's the cool new female character. She's in all the other Crashes. And then in this one, they bring Tana back, but they make her cool, and they just explain it like, oh, she's from an alternate dimension where she actually has some class, that she's not just Bandicoot boobies walking around the screen. And
we don't talk to mainline Tanya anymore.
They make some joke about like, yeah, we kind of drifted apart, I guess. I think we lost touch at some point.
Yeah, she had some good. She had the joke where she's like, oh, what do you guys collected in this one? Like diamonds? And they're like, nah. It's like, I don't know, gems this time? They're like, no, we're getting masks this time. She's like, oh, okay, that sounds good.
Whatever, let's go along with it. Yeah,
it's funny.
Yeah, it is funny. The whole thing, it's called Crash 4, it's about time. But then it's not really about time, it's about dimensions, where I guess through these dimensions, I guess you jump through time, which is still confusing, because that's what Crash 3 was about, right? So it is weird, though, thinking about how similar it is to the new Ratchet, of just playing with different dimensions and having this different version of Tana in this version from the different dimension. And then in Ratchet, there's like the different female Lombax and stuff. Do you think it's all just coming from Spider-Verse or Endgame, or like something just bringing up these dimensions at this point?
I mean, I was trying to trace this back because I think about this a lot, because dimensions in like entertainment are now like an accepted thing. Like there are so many shows that are like cool with they can use the concept of dimension to tell stories. Like Gravity Falls, the recent Ninja Turtles show was all about like dimensional travel. Star versus the Forces of Evil recently has like dimensional travel. I think Steven Universe does. And Rick and Morty is like a huge one. And I'm trying to figure out like what was the line, because it wasn't Spider-Verse. There was some media that
MCU did that stuff, right?
Yeah,
but more recently,
I would have counted among that too. But I feel like there's some point where we were all like cool with the idea of it, and now a lot of fiction, like cartoons and stuff, are using it, which is cool. Like, it ends up being a cool thing. But like, I feel like in the last like 5 to 8 years, like we've all like gotten the hang. Like we all accept it, and are we don't need it fully explained to us anymore.
I know what I mean?
The same way like Back to the Future kind of simplified the idea of time travel, and then time travel stories became more prevalent. Like, I feel like something kicked off our understanding of dimensions in fiction, and I don't know what it was. You know,
was it that episode of Community where they roll the dice to go get the pizza?
I mean, honestly, like that was an early example, like for sure. Like that
Darkest Timeline is like, a phrase.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Jeff,
it has to be that episode of the Mega Man animated show where X comes in from the other timeline. That has to be the seminal moment, right?
An episode that my brother told me about that I did not believe existed. I thought he was lying to me and pranking me as a child. And it wasn't until I was an adult and I Googled it and found it on YouTube that I finally learned to trust my brother again.
Yeah, and the thing that he told me is that he actually made that entire episode himself and put it on the internet so that you would find it, so that you wouldn't find out.
That's amazing.
So thanks, Serial. We found it. It's the original Mega Man animated show.
Or Jeff Enright in the Backstage Pass watching this live and commenting along with the other fine folks. He has a good starting point. If you need a recent-ish starting point, 2009 Star Trek. For that alternate dimension, like the alternate
that is
take.
really good.
That seems like a good time frame for when we all were very down. I mean, obviously we are familiar with other dimensions and media, but there's something, you're right, it became bigger, and I think it's around 2009, right?
Yeah, that's very smart, because the thing about that movie too is there's a big Leonard Nimoy monologue explaining it. You know what I mean?
Explaining
and
Crash
so now
4.
After that, it was like, all right, we got someone explained it for us that we like to listen to. Leonard Nimoy has a great voice. Have at it, rest of fiction.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, Crash Bandicoot 4, I love those original games. I got to be honest with myself. I mean, Crash 4 is the best Crash. I mean, even at this point, it's like you strip nostalgia away. I would have a tough time arguing that those other Crash games are better than this game at this point. And so I've really, really been enjoying it. It's been quite a treat.
It also doesn't gate you much. Like if you just want to stick with the Crash levels, like, and you can, like, I ended up like skipping a lot of stuff just because I was enjoying it and wanted to see it to the end. Like, you don't have to do the Tawny episodes or levels. You don't have to do the Crocodile.
Dingodile, please show him his respect.
Dingodile, excuse me, which are fun, but like I just like how there's a lot of extra stuff there if you want it. I mean, it's that very Nintendo approach that I'm glad is being adopted more and more, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Leo Vader!
Hey, man.
Hey, Star Wars Squadrons. Heck yeah. The greatest F1 of all time in X-Wing. Have you been playing much of this game?
A good little bit.
Okay. I've played, a little bit. Are you playing in VR?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been about half and half. Now that I've broken the seal on not being in VR, I probably just won't play it in VR going forward. It's cool in VR, but I mean, you don't get an advantage or anything, really.
But you get to like look around separately, and like it's fun to track a TIE fighter flying around, right?
Yeah, but you still just use a gamepad. Like when I booted it up and had my touch controllers ready to go, and then none of them did anything, that was a very disappointing moment.
Oh, that sucks.
You can't like reach out and touch the controls or anything.
You know what, Leo? So, Hanson, you know how my fraught relationship with PC gaming, right? Not a big PC gamer guy. I always buy console when I buy games.
Yeah.
This was the first like PC game that I've bought like full price because I wanted to play it in VR. And now Leo's making me feel like I've regretted my decision.
It was disappointing, but obviously it's like a competitive multiplayer game, and it would be a huge disadvantage to have to do that stuff. But it'd be fun if you could like only go against people playing in VR.
Yeah,
that's a bummer for me for sure.
I feel it. I like this game. I like that this game exists. Obviously, having the spiritual successor to X-Wing or TIE Fighter, and I love seeing the fandom coming out of the woodwork for Star Wars fandom. Of course, happens all the time, but specifically like flight stick people. Like even in the MinnMax Discord, there are a lot of people like, all right, whipping out the old flight sticks. And it seems like that's what you need, Leo. You combine VR with the flight sticks, then you're going to feel like a champion.
That's true. That would be cool. Yeah. And I do want to say it's a very cool game. I like it a lot. Yeah.
Are you into the campaign at all, or are you just a multiplayer guy?
Mostly multiplayer. I've played a bit of the campaign. And so basically, all right, Kyle, listen. Basically, it's like Rebels good. Okay?
Yeah.
What
Imperials?
There's like Rebels.
Wait,
right?
No,
You can't. The norm is good.
Imperials, bad.
I don't understand what.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
You'll just have to play the game. Sorry.
You know what playing that campaign made me think of? Is like in the beginning they have some VO from Darth Vader. I just realized like we have an entire life ahead of us, if we're lucky, of just poor James Earl Jones impersonations as Vader. I mean, he's got to be going down probably the time this podcast airs, right? It's such a bummer.
I'm betting on it.
But just
they
think
just
about
announced Lion King 2, man. Come on.
Yeah, but they're going to Godfather 2 with Lion King 2. It seems to be the reports, right? It's going to be young Mufasa, which I do think is an awesome idea, but it's not going to be like pitch shifted James Earl Jones as a teenage Mufasa. Although no, I kind of want to hear it. But you know what I mean? They're going to be trying to squeeze Darth Vader as a character for the rest of time. And it's just going to be this weird thing every time of like, not quite there.
Here's a question though. Are you sure it's Jones?
It's not Jones.
I don't think he's Invader Immortal.
I forget what it is in Invader Immortal. Squadrons, it's not Jones, is what I'm saying. This was like...
It's not. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Invader Immortal, I'm pretty sure it's not him, and I was impressed. Like, they fooled me, for sure.
Really? Okay, so they should have gotten that guy back for Squadrons. But it's still... it's
okay.
Close enough. But so, Kyle, have you started Squadrons?
No, I actually, downloaded it this morning with the intention of playing it tonight, because, like, I've been all in on Crash. So tonight I want to start it in VR.
Okay. Well, I hope you have a good time.
But now I'm not going to because Leo seems to think it's a waste of time.
Well, Leo,
I mean, it's cool. It's the immersion's cool for sure.
Yeah, it's very satisfying to be playing that game, even in multiplayer, and just the little bit of control they give you. It feels like in a satisfying way, like in God of War, like having the button to like recall the axe. It's that same level of satisfaction to having this like diverting power in your D-pad of just like constantly shifting and like, okay, upping agility, lowering agility, putting all power on shields because there's somebody behind me. Now I'm upping firepower, and like just having that little bit of control on the D-pad and having like the meters and the X-Wing or TIE fighter shift, I think is really fun.
Yeah, and I think the controls in general, I was thinking about it as compared to like Rocket League the other day. Just the way you get it right away, like using the two thumbsticks feels very intuitive as far as how you roll versus how you move forward, but it'll be a matter of moving the ship completely second nature before you become really good at it. Like you really have to be moving without thinking about it before you can start killing people, it feels like.
Yeah. But it does, like, and it's at its best, it's like, oh, this feels like a good Colony Wars. Feels like the return of, I know Colony Wars is not the original or what they were going for, but that's the game that like I loved on PS1, right? So it's like, oh, it's nice to have another one of these. And also, yeah, they do a good job making you feel like you're going really fast, even though they're dogfights in space. Like they put so much crap floating around in space that you have to fly around, and debris and like dust flying on your windshield. It's a tricky thing, but I think they pulled it off really well. It feels like one of those Star Wars games that 5 years from now, people would be like, why don't they release Star Wars games like Squadrons anymore? That was a cool thing. You know, it feels
for sure
like a weird outlier, and it's $40, no DLC. Get it, play it if you like it, move on.
Is it coming to like EA Access, which is coming to Game Pass soon? Is that how that works, or is that confusing? I think none of us know the answer to that.
I think they aren't releasing new EA games in the whatever is being bundled up with Game Pass.
Okay.
I think it's just kind of like the EA Vault stuff. As far as I understand it, Leo, do you know better about this?
All I know is EA Access does have 10-hour free trials of new games, including Squadrons. But I don't know if you get those free trials through Game Pass.
Okay. EA Play is what ENT Clark in the Backstage Pass is correcting us. So EA Play, is that the new or is that the old? ENT Clark, please help us. It's all very confusing. But hey, speaking of confusing, Baldur's Gate 3. It's in early access now. This is the new Baldur's Gate. It's crazy that this happened from the team that brought us Divinity Original Sin, Larian Studios. We streamed it for the Great Goaty Hunt. Suriel and Leo did. Suriel, what did you think about just seeing an hour at least of Baldur's Gate 3?
It looks like a lot of those CRPGs in that I think there's some interesting setups and premises, and I like the kind of degree of customization, but I think as soon as you get into combat, my eyes just kind of started glazing over.
There's a lot going on there, man.
Yeah.
It's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
From the D&D aspect that they give you so many options and so many tools and so many possibilities. But Leo, you into that stuff?
In theory, it's a classic Leo CRPG experience.
Right.
I mean, it's like a D&D campaign that your friend is DMing and you're constantly the whole time like, why are we doing so much combat?
Right.
This is not what I'm here for. That's what these games often feel like for me. And I've only played it like half an hour past what we showed on the Goaty Hunt, but that's how it's been feeling so far. It's like, okay, I'm still just fighting little scarabs, and it is not at all what is interesting to me about this.
Yeah. I saw an article, it was interesting phrasing, just talking about this game coming out at a perfect time for a lot of people who are kind of missing their D&D in-person sessions. And like, maybe this will kind of scratch an itch for people with the decline in tabletop gaming. They're like, you know what, this will be the D&D experience for a single player, you know, if I'm not into the online D&D scene. So it seems cool. I'm very happy it exists. Any chance you're going to keep going with it, Leo?
Chances slim. I think stuff it's doing is cool with the presentation. Like some of those cutscenes look pretty nice. The in-engine cutscenes, it'll zoom in close for conversations, which is like a leap for that genre, it feels like. But it's just not quite enough to really hook me. I mean, I just don't like fantasy in general. So it's like if the story isn't really getting me, nor the combat, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. Kyle? What was your gut reaction to Minecraft Steve being in Smash Brothers?
Excitement.
Yes. Okay.
Positive.
Great.
Good. It was fun. It was like a fun reveal. I haven't watched the extended stuff, but I watched the reveal thing, and it was very much like I watched it and immediately called my daughter over. I was like, "Hey, look at this!" And she got really excited about it too because she loves Minecraft.
Oh, good.
And I don't know. It was such, even though like we had all predicted it at one point, like I feel like years ago at this point, it still felt like a big surprise to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like it was rumored for so long, and then I kind of forgot about it and was expecting other stuff. But yeah, I was really excited about it. I guess the internet was angry. I wasn't really paying attention. I don't know what they were angry about, but whatever. Just wait for Fortnite to be in the game. I think
Smash Brothers fans just want like legacy characters. You know what I mean? They want like obscure, nostalgic kind of like deep cuts. And Steve is not. You know what I mean? Steve is like from one of the most popular games in the world that, yeah, I don't know. I don't agree, but I understand why people wanted something different. Like people wanted like Dante from Devil May Cry and stuff like that, you know, which would be cool. Totally,
yeah. But yeah, I don't know, Cyril, I don't know how much of that like deep dive that you watched that they posted later, you know, it's Sakurai for 45 minutes going into every detail possible, just cementing my love for Sakurai as like the greatest creator out there.
He's one of the best presenters of like video game things just in general. Yes. Like at the end, just like as a quick aside, they also announced like, hey, here are the 3 new amiibo, and the way he does it is like so much fun. Of just like he could have just said, hey, new products, here you go get them, but he's looking. Hey, we also talked about the amiibo, and there's like this wall of like paper mache like blocks. And he like, yeah. And so I guess we have 3 new ones. And he looks at the blocks, and like, as he's like, oh, I need to pull this out of there. But then he goes behind the back, and he's like, oh, here's Violet. And it's like, you can get him later. And then he looks at it again, and he pulls it down from below, and it's like, yeah. And there's also Banjo. And then at the end, I think that's everything. It's like, oh wait, there's Terry. Like, and by the time they cut to that shot, the wall has already been broken, and there's Terry.
And so it's like cloud stripe behind your ear. Oh, look at this! Like,
yeah, exactly. So he just goes 100% on anything they tell him. Like, I always feel like Nintendo's just like, yeah, and then I guess offhandedly they'll send him the note that's like, yeah, and just mention the amiibos, and it's like, I'm not gonna just mention them. I'm gonna do this. Like he's the epitome of like, if you're gonna do something, do it right.
He's the most doesn't half-ass anything. He's the most full-ass game developer working in the industry today. I've always said
exactly. And you can tell also by the fact that like, I think if you were to say like, oh yeah, put Minecraft Steve in Minecraft or in Smash, they'd be like, well, he's got to have all like these 4 moves, and then we're done, and then whatever. But like the degree he goes like, yeah, because you can attack while moving in Minecraft, that's basically his like one of his big gimmicks is that he can basically mash the attack button while he's moving, and that basically lets him just cover a whole bunch of ground that way. And he has the whole resource system from Minecraft.
Leo, I don't know if you have seen any of this, but it's not that they put Minecraft Steve in Smash. It's literally they have built Minecraft within Smash Brothers. Like,
oh, no question. I've seen it. It looks amazing. The way you get like different resources based on different levels.
Yes, insane. The materials that the levels are made of.
I'm only hung up on he moves while attacking, so that's his thing. I haven't really thought about it, but out of the 80 characters, are there not more that move while attacking in their games?
There's a couple. I think Mega Man specifically can fire his, like eggs while he's moving or whatever, but most of the time if you're not in the air and you're attacking, you kind of just stop for a second while you're doing the attack and then move, which makes it kind of easier to read stuff. But like the fact that he does that, I think is impressive. And then, yeah, like you said, depending on if he's standing on sand, there will be different resources. Or like that's less rare. If he's like on Lilat, I think, or Corneria stage, he'll like mine more steel because it's made out of metal. And he goes into this bit about like, hey, look, so if you're playing on the Omega Battlefield stages, which is where every stage becomes Battlefield, like those players don't really like random stuff. So on every one of the Battlefield stages, all the resource mining is the same. And so like, and that is his, and I'm sorry about that, which is weird. Not a lot of like, look, I know this is for the competitive scene. You don't have to deal with it. But like the degree he goes to of like, yeah, you can mine different resources. His side B is like, depending on how much materials you have and how upgraded like you have different materials it'll move faster and do more damage. Like and he goes to say like, hey, we had to remap all of the stages slightly because he has the ability to make squares in midair.
Yeah, so we get blocks everywhere. Yeah, and he's like, I want you to take a second to think about the programmers of this game because they had to reprogram every stage in this game.
Yeah, that was the meme that was getting shared around a lot. It was like Smash Brothers artists were like, yeah, this is great. This is super easy. We'll knock this out in an afternoon. But then it's like the programmers are just like sweating. They're like, oh my God, this is going to be so hard.
It's so insane. And they're like, okay, he can get in the minecart and move around. That's great. But because it's Smash and they're so detailed and clearly Sakurai loves games so much and he's getting to like the systems of Minecraft. He's like, okay, well, you can get the minecart, but obviously they can't go uphill. It'll kind of lose gravity. So if you have enough resources and you craft it, then you can actually get the powered track. So you can have the powered minecart to get up the slopes in the Smash stages. It's just like, and he said it a couple times, but it's worth reiterating. He's like, yeah, I don't think many, developers would go this in-depth for DLC. He's like, I really think we went above and beyond.
Yeah.
And I think he's the most complex Smash character from this presentation. It's wild.
He's definitely up there for sure. And I have to imagine that there was like an internal email around the offices like between people who aren't Sakurai, like, do not show him the video where they make the calculator. Do not show him that video. We are going to work 400 extra
recreated Earth entirely in mind. Don't let him know that exists.
But it's like, it makes me think about if Mario were added this year, he would be a very different character with things like, instead of the cape just being a reflector, he'd be like, oh yeah, you can obviously do the dive or whatever where he comes back up and is able to do that. He'd have like like he has a system where he enables different things to fall out of the sky. One of them is the Tanuki suit or whatever. He would be a very different character, and it makes me want that character.
That's
like, they could do Mario again. And have that be a new DLC character with all the other suits and stuff that he has.
They just call it like new Mario. I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah, I loved even in the reveal video. It was the most sass I've ever seen from a Nintendo developer in an official Nintendo video when he was talking about like how Nintendo came to him begging him to put Minecraft in the game, and basically he's like, well, this is going to be a lot of work, but I guess. Like, just his presentation style is just amazing for him, just explaining like, in a very Sakurai way, this nearly killed me and all of my developers, but Nintendo made us do it for the love of God, free me from this Smash prison. But I'm going to go all in. Here we go.
And then there's people online it's like, why isn't it Dante?
Exactly.
Yeah. I almost feel like anytime someone asks something of Sakurai, it's like sort of like a reverse, like asking the devil for something, where it's like, you don't know what you're asking for. Like what you mean, what you're asking me for has greater repercussions than you can imagine, but they're all on me except for you.
Right.
It's a monkey paw, like unclenching slowly.
Exactly.
Jesus. It looks amazing. It's coming out October 13th for that DLC in there. Suriel, did you have a heart attack when you saw Travis touchdown, but he's only going to be included as a Mii fighter?
Yeah, that's a bummer. It's weird to say that he's Undertale tier or Sans tier, in that they just said, yeah, he's an amiibo costume. Basically that seems to be their way of saying like, shut up everybody who wants him.
With all due respect, even like, hey, Bomberman's a Mii fighter, and they're like, we know you want to drop bombs as a Bomberman, but just use the bomb item and it's close enough.
I'm too busy working out the mining systems of Minecraft to include any other character.
Oh my god.
And then they'll just it's funny to see. I think Suda was retweeting people being both happy that he was in, and people who were like, man, I wish he were a character. That's such a bummer. Like, people being disappointed about him not being an actual character, and people being happy about it. So he was just retweet. Like, if I see Travis, I'm retweeting that button.
That's funny.
That's a real sweary move. That's like sweary retweeting both the good and just horribly negative reviews for Deadly Premonition 2 the day it came out. Just like,
oh boy. Yeah, remember when that game came out this year? Oh, weird one.
Yeah, I've tried to play it. I haven't gone very far. It's like the game that my wife and I play together, and we've only gotten like 3 hours in or so, 3 or 4 hours.
You're not spending much time together. A lot of time outside the house.
Yeah, we're in a pandemic with a kid who won't go to sleep.
Oh, God. All right, Leo, I'm ready for you, buddy. A horror game, 4-player co-op psychological horror game called Phasmophobia. The floor is yours.
Phasmophobia. Now, what does that word mean? First word comes from the Latin.
Webster's dictionary defines phasmophobia.
It's short for Captain Phasmo.
Right.
Oh.
It is a cooperative ghost hunting game. And not like your Luigi's Mansion or that other ghost hunting game where you're, kind of shooting at the ghost with your ghost gun. There's no weapons in it. You have a wide variety of tools to measure ghost activity. So it's much more like a gamification of like, I don't know, shows you might see on the Discovery Channel.
Okay.
Where they go explore haunted houses.
Yeah.
And they set up cameras with night vision. That's stuff you can do in the game. I'll explain it in the context of here is how a run might go.
Yeah.
So I'm with my 4 friends. We're in our little base together, all walking around. It's VR or not VR, I should say.
Great.
I play in VR, and you have like proximity audio. So if you're far from somebody, you have to like touch your shoulder and communicate on walkie-talkie, which is awesome.
Oh, wow.
But we pick a job. We head there, we read on the board these 4 randomly generated objectives. One of them's always the same, which is find out what type of ghost this is. And then the other ones are like take a picture of it or find the hidden bone on the ground or like, yeah, just weird stuff. Scare the ghost away using a crucifix, things like that.
Oh, cool.
And then we open the door, we go inside the house, and we have our little EMF readers. We're pointing them around in this dark, spooky house. We find where the paranormal activity is. Our EMF detector starts going off in a certain room. We're like, okay, let's go back. Let's get the camera. We bring in the camera and the tripod and we set it up, point it at the room in just the right way. Send like one person back to the van where they can watch it on the computer in the van. Also in the van, you've got like, here's the ghost activity. Is it at a 0 right now? Or is it up to a 6 and the ghost is like coming for you? And it's got everybody's sanity as well. So it's like,
oh no.
We'll see the ghost and it'll be terrifying and the walkie will cut out. And then as soon as it ends and the walkie comes back in, my friend in the truck is like, Leo, get out of there right now. Your sanity is way too low. Get out of there over the walkie. And then the game of it is trying not to get killed by the ghost while figuring out what type it is. So you have this journal that has, 9 types of ghosts and you put in the evidence as you find it. It's like, oh, we spotted these fingerprints on the wall with our UV light. Or we set the camera up and we saw that there's this little ghost orb flying around. And so we put this evidence into the journal. And as you do that, it's almost like Return of the Obra Dinn, where you put in the evidence and according to that evidence, it can only be a certain type of ghost.
Okay.
So you like whittle it down to 3. The person in the van can be flipping through the journal, reading about each type of ghost and telling you like, here's what to look for. If it's this one, try, using the crucifix. And there's just the element of the ghost could pop out and kill one of us at any time. And so you're trying to like get the best evidence of it because you're getting money for buying new tools by getting a picture or whatever, but you put yourself in terrifying situations. Like me and my friend were in there together. We knew it was in this room where this piano kept playing itself.
Oh, no.
I know. And we were monitoring it. I was ready to take the picture. I'm the VR guy, so I take the pictures because I can, line up the shots really well with my hand. And then suddenly we hear it from behind us on the stairs as the lights start flickering and as the walkies go out. And so me and my friend are like wordless running to behind the dinner table. And I'm physically crouching in VR looking over the dinner table with our flashlights pointed at the stairs. And we just see the hulking shadow of the ghost. And me and my friend are so scared. But it's proximity audio and the ghost can hear you. So we can't say anything.
Oh my God.
Until it's over. And you can use that audio to be like, every ghost has a name. It tells you what the name of the ghost is. You come in like Richard Johnson. So you go, Richard Johnson.
No!
Give us a sign. Or you can find a Ouija board and ask it a question. I played with a friend who's really, really good at it and is like super high level. And he was like, okay, so we found the Ouija board. Here we go. Activate it, throw it on the floor. Richard Johnson, where are you? And then the Ouija board starts spelling out living room.
Oh, I got goosebumps when you said that. I hate that.
Oh, it's so good. And so we know to focus on the living room. And then it's just all about gathering evidence and trying not to die. There was another time where me and my friend were in the basement checking on this journal. Because one of the things the ghost can do, I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, that's fine.
Is you place an empty journal on the ground and you come back later and you can find that they've written in it. And that gives you a clue as to what kind of ghost it is. So we're like, let's go in the basement and check on this journal. And we go and we look at it and it's empty. But then the lights go out in the whole house and we hear the heartbeat and we know the ghost is coming. I'm like, come on, let's hide over here. And we run to the corner. and we turn our flashlights off, and it's just getting louder and louder, and then suddenly it's quiet, and I'm like, Icy? That's my friend. And I turn the flashlight on, and his corpse is just laying there, and I just can't hear him anymore because, his audio is gone, and he's just like in the spirit realm at that point. But so many terrifying moments, and like having that proximity audio, that realism of like losing contact with people. It's an incredible experience. I can't believe how much I love it.
That sounds really good, but you could have made it much briefer. I looked up a Steam review, and it overwhelmingly positive on Steam, by the way. And the Steam review just says, I was being chased by the ghost. I hid in a closet. I had to fart. My mic picked up my fart, and I died. I mean, you could have sold it with that, Leo.
Yeah, should have given a fair warning about that.
It's okay. So just on Steam, right? And early access?
Steam early access. And if there's a caveat you're waiting to hear about, it looks like ass. It's like, I think one person made it, and it's just like playing in VR. My hands are just one solid object. Like there's no finger control
Minecraft
at all. Yeah. So, the player animations don't look very good, and there's some finicky and glitchy stuff. But like when there's a ghost, it is well enough realized that you are terrified when you. Oh,
I guarantee it'll be terrifying. Phasmophobia, Phasmophobia. Don't forget it. That sounds
right.
It's
like $14.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We gotta stream that at some point. That sounds great.
Please.
I mean, I hate to put everything in this framing, but it sounds, Leo, like it's like a top 5, top 3 of the year for you so far.
It is up there, no question. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, good. That's awesome. Let's see. We got some rinky-dink things we can talk about. Cyril, you want to enter the rinky-dink ring?
Sure.
Do you want to talk about the Mafia remake? You've been playing this a little bit?
Yeah, I can talk about that a little bit. I finished it yesterday, but it's a weird game to play right now because it just feels so like going against everything that other games are doing in a way that I don't think super works. So if you remember Mafia 3, that game, got a lot of praise for its story, but got a lot of flack for kind of the way it was just kind of another open world where you have to do a bunch of activities in order to progress the storyline, and people were like, you should just cut that down, you don't need all that stuff. And that's what this game is.
Okay.
Which is just like you have this kind of small-ish open city that I think is either Chicago or New York. It's called like Little Heaven or whatever, but I think it's supposed to be based on either one of those two cities. And so all you're really doing is going from mission to mission. Like there's almost no, like you don't unlock the ability to actually roam around the city at will until you beat the campaign. And so you're just really doing just like as soon as one mission is over, it'll say like, hey, here's the name of the mission you just did, chapter complete. And then you press A and it loads up the next cutscene. So in that sense, like I kind of prefer this structure to Mafia 3's because it's I like the open world as a set dressing for the, because like you're driving around, and as you're driving around, you're having these conversations with all the Mafia people. I like that it's like, this is really immersive in the sense that I'm just kind of exploring the city as if I were actually just driving in it, and that's really cool. But it's hard to like really recommend it very strongly because what it does is just like it's like a Mafia story, and it all the like nuances that you might expect from it of like, I was kind of drafted into Mafia because Tom, the guy you play as, was like, I'm just a cabbie, and then he kind of act like people commandeer his car and say like, hey, we're trying to get away from these other guys, like drive, I have a gun to your head or whatever, so now you have to drive for them.
Here's my gun.
Then and so the other guys basically save you from them, and so like, you're kind of like, thanks for helping us out or whatever, getting these guys.
So standard Mafia story stuff. I'm amazed that you played this game through to completion. Were you reviewing it somewhere?
No, I just got, it was just like in my Epic Store library, we got a code or whatever, but I just played through it because I like the Mafia games. I really like Mafia 2, and I liked a lot of what Mafia 3 like introduced. But yeah, I think the story ends, and it's like there's some like kind of interesting notes and some sad like notes towards the end. But I guess I had seen so much of what this game is offering already that I was just like, I would kind of stop paying. How like when you read a book, you'll just be like, you start drifting off and you're like, I read through this whole page, but I didn't retain any of it.
Yeah.
I did that a lot with this game, and then realized I hadn't really missed anything, because it's like the moment you see the cutscene set up, you're like, okay, I know what they're going to go do the thing. Okay, this is the setup for this heist. I know what's going on. I don't even have to watch the rest of this cutscene effectively. So it feels really toothless, because especially compared to Mafia 3, where a lot of that had, like, it felt like it was updating the kind of Mafia story of like, this is our kind of collected family versus like the Italian mob, which is like, oh, you're kind of born into it to some degree, and it's all kind of race related. Whereas here, it's like, here's just an amalgam of different people, and it kind of is tinged with kind of a lot of what was going on in the 60s, which is, a lot of like racial tensions being really high. So this compared to that feels kind of like, yeah, I've seen this so many times. It's kind of boring.
Yeah. I know, like, Jeff Cork reviewed it for Game Informer, gave it a pretty low score. It seems like, it's nice that they gave it the full remake treatment here. And it's cool that Hangar 13, like the Mafia 3 devs, I think did the work, right? For the remake?
They did the remake, and it looks really nice. Like the voice acting and the like the performance capture stuff and all the performances are good. It's weird because there are two separate characters that you're kind of hanging around with that I think both sound like Master Shake doing an accent from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Of course. And one of them is like, here's the serious one, and then here's kind of like the not like a jokey character, but more lighthearted version of that character. So that I couldn't kind of let go of that. But it's like, it's fine if this is the kind of game where if it shows up on Game Pass, it's like maybe worth a weekend if you're kind of into mob stories. Right. But I can't like recommend it as like because there's nothing super frustrating in it until later on, where you kind of get into way too many firefights and the shooting is not at all interesting. It's like what you think of as like the default third-person shooter template of like, okay, left trigger to shoot, there's like 4 guns, and then you have Molotovs. That's it. That's literally it. There's no like time slowing mechanic. There's no like, okay, we're going to change combat by doing this. There's nothing. There's just you shoot guns at dudes. That is 90% of the game.
Yeah. We got it. Just don't. Yeah. It's a mixed bag, as they say.
Yeah. Like, I don't hate it, but it's just like, it's kind of hard to really, be excited about it now, but it makes me want a game that kind of combines the tone of Mafia 3 with kind of the breeziness of this one. Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, maybe someday, maybe Hangar 13 can return to it, or who knows what they're working on now. There was there's that story from Schreier back at Kotaku a while ago, right, where he was saying that they were experimenting and pitching different ideas to 2K, and one of them was like an open world music game, which sounds insane. That I was really curious to see what that thing would be, but I don't think that got greenlit. So who knows?
Weren't there rumors about them working on a BioShock game, or like 2K or the studio next to them were working on a BioShock game?
Yeah, so some developers are being pulled over to, what is that, Cloudspire Games, whatever that new 2K studio is that is actually working on that new BioShock. Yeah. Kyle, you checked out the new game from Mike Bithell, Solitaire Conspiracy, which is a solitaire game but with a story.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a ton to say about it. I'm not super far, but like, I like the core conceit of like murder by numbers, kind of like, here's a puzzle mechanic you dropped into a story, and like, it's the solitaire mechanics are fun, and I like playing solitaire. But the thing that stuck out to me so much is Greg Miller is in the game, and he plays like a huge role. Like, he talks to you the whole time. And I really like Greg Miller. I think he's super fun and charismatic, and I even think he's like a good actor to a certain degree.
Really?
But like, yeah, I think so. Like, he's one of those like fun to watch kind of guys. But like, it is so hard to separate the persona of Greg Miller from whatever character he's playing, because like, and it's also not just his voice. It's like he's literally like filmed and digitized, and like, he actually introduces himself, and he's like, "Hey, I'm Jim Ratio." Like, that's his name. And I was like, "No, you're not, man. You're Greg Miller. Come on, what are you doing here?"
Alt F4.
Yeah, so, but it's also like, I think it's kind of tongue in cheek of like how silly it is. Like you're getting into like spy hijinks like by playing solitaire. Yeah, like, there's no way to really like make that too dramatic and serious. But I really like what Bithell is doing in general. I like this like approach that he has of like making smaller games more often that are focused on writing, because I think Bithell's a really good writer.
Yeah.
But I just like solitaire video games, so I like the idea of taking a solitaire mechanic and putting it into like a video game with a story. So I'm digging it. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you listened to Alana Pierce's podcast, by the way? It's newish. Play, Watch, Listen.
But she's been doing good stuff though. I haven't listened to her podcast though.
Yeah, it's really good. It's one of my favorite gaming podcasts now. But Mike Bithell is on that, so he talked about the development of this game a little bit. But it's Alana Pierce, Mike Bithell, Troy Baker, and Austin Winery, the composer. it's just like a weird grab bag of folks, but it's always really good conversations. And I think it's one of the best gaming podcasts out there now. So tell them
Kyle,
we sent you.
Have you played Solitaire?
No, that's a made up word. I don't know what that is.
It's a roguelike, your favorite, but it's like solitary mechanics, and it's a really good game. I think you'd like it. It's on mobile and stuff. Solitaire.
Okay, check it out.
Yeah.
And Kyle, you'd be happy to know that I'm happy that you mentioned Murder by Numbers, and you'd be happy to know that Picross is being played a lot in my house now because it's on the Nintendo Switch. Was that Mario Picross? It's in Japanese, so I don't even know what this game is, but it's in the Switch Online thingy.
Are you playing it?
No, of course not. My girlfriend's playing it. But
that's good. I played it too. I played like a bunch of the puzzles, and like it kind of blew my mind that all of a sudden like a full screen Mario was there talking to me in Japanese. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then Wario showed up like in the desert, and he was talking.
It's like, so cool. I love these weird games. It's like I never knew there was new Super Nintendo Wario and Mario art with like a weird level of fidelity that I'd never seen before, but it's like Mario bowing to you like with Super Nintendo graphics. Like, what is this?
I mean, you can I tweeted it, but like the puzzle completion music sounds so close to Super Mario World's level completion music.
Oh, fun,
like it sounds like the legally distinct. This kind of sounds like Star Wars, but it isn't Star. Like that's what it sounds like. But I put you should go check that out. It's really funny.
But I love that Nintendo's releasing these games that are almost entirely in Japanese. Like Panel de Pon is genuinely one of my favorite games this year that they released on the Switch Online thing. But it's so cool to have these games that you kind of have to stumble through in Japanese. Like they're both relatively simple, but there's definitely stuff like starting up Mario Picross where it's like, all right, every level that we start, it wants us to choose one of two options, and I can't read either of them. So this one, I think it's asking if you want a hint. I think ultimately what it is.
Manual or automatic.
But it is that moment when you first start where it's like, all right, option A, I guess. I hope I can solve a Picross puzzle if I press that button.
Right. Yeah, it's a fun time. At least it looks like, she's having fun. I wouldn't touch
it's
that.
Cool.
It's way too complicated.
It is,
yeah. Hey, speaking of fun time, we normally save plugs and pugs for later on in the podcast, but I wanted to mention, and we'll talk more about it, but a lot of people have been asking, and we are doing Extra Life this year, the big charity stream to raise money for Gillette Children's Specialty Healthcare in St. Paul, Minnesota. That is happening November 7th. It is a 25-hour stream for charity. Is going to be starting at 8 a.m. on November 7th on that Saturday. But we're not doing it alone. We're joining forces with our old dear friends, the mothership, as we like to call them, the Game Informer crew. So it's going to be a fun time. We're going to be having a whole Game Informer cross MinnMax, I believe is the official wording for this big Extra Life stream. And so we're going to be taking over Game Informer's YouTube account, maybe vice versa. The technical details we have to figure out exactly, but we'll be streaming and tearing down that barrier, and we'll be guesting on their segments, they'll be guesting on our segments, and it's all going to the same place and all raising money. So please look forward to that. And also let us know what segments you want. If you enjoyed some Extra Life stuff in the past from us, what segments you want us to get back to. And it's tough to know, well, how min-maxy should we make it? I'm thinking, should we do Photo Mode Snap live? It seems like that'd be a fun thing to do for an hour chunk in the middle of Extra Life. Kyle, I think Joe would be really funny on Photo Mode Snap Live. It's fun to now pick and choose who would be a good Game Informer editor for this min-maxy thing. So it should be a wonderful time, and we'll be sharing more details about that in the future, of course. Leo, you excited for that?
Super excited. I'm obviously disappointed we won't be together again like in previous years, but it's always a highlight.
Yeah, for sure. And Leo, I've been needing to ask you, do you know how this whole thing operates?
Oh, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, take your time.
Support from our generous patrons?
That's right. Wonderful supporters that go to patreon.com/MinnMax2N and support us at any tier. We appreciate any support you want to send our way, and including some big supporters like the Bam Box. They say, hello, MinnMaxers. That's us. We are so thankful for the support you've shown us so far, and we're really excited about the box we've been able to get you next. Yes, the new Gamer Box has just gone on sale, and it might be the best one yet. This month's franchises are Super Mario Bros., Portal 2, The Simpsons, Bart's Nightmare, and Dead by Daylight. Also, with Halloween coming, we decided to celebrate 30 years of The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror by doing a Simpsons pin set crossover between our Gamer Box, Geek Box, and Horror Box. It's our biggest crossover set in 5 years. And on top of that, the autograph in this box is one of the most iconic characters ever in gaming. It's a true grail item for any collector. We can't wait for you to see what it is. Be sure to reserve your October Gamer Box at thebambox.com. And then hit us up on Facebook or Twitter to become part of the BAM community. Thank you, Bambox, for your support.
The Bamly. Here's a free one for you, the Bamly.
Hang on, write this down for next time. The Bamly. Go to thebambox.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate it. And also thanks to our dear friends at I Am 8-Bit. They want everybody to know that they are now selling the Ori Collector's Edition on Switch, Xbox One, and PC. It has an amazing transforming display box case with a glow-in-the-dark finish, majestic stained glass art style, and a flora and fauna of Ori field guide, a sketchbook zine featuring rarely seen production art, a collectible art card set, hard enamel glow-in-the-dark pin, physical editions, featuring exclusive reversible cover art that are region-free, and a digital download card for Ori and the Blind Forest and Will of the Wisps, soundtracks by composer Gareth Coker. It looks very cool. Thank you to I Am 8-Bit for their wonderful support. And they want you to know that anything in the I Am 8-Bit store under $100, you can use the promo code this week, Monumental Valley 2, for 10% off anything in the store. So that code is MINNUMENTVALLEY 2 for 10% off anything in the I Am 8-Bit store. Thank you to I Am 8-Bit for supporting us in a big way. You can support us too by submitting a comment or question for us to read on this very show. You can help make the show better any way you want. Every week we choose the question of the week, and I Am 8-Bit ships them an amazing prize from their online store. And this week it's, you probably guessed it because it's connected.
I guessed it. I know what this is.
Monument Valley plushies. So the winner,
those famous sounds they make.
I haven't played the game, but look at them go. They're very cute. And so our favorite question of the week, we'll ship out these amazing Monument Valley plushies. So thank you to I Am 8-Bit, and show them some love, please, for supporting MinnMax in a huge way. Leo Vader, you're a very nice gentleman, but I understand that you hate the community and you're sick of these effing questions.
It's always fun community emails, and I've said time and time again, make it less fun and I'll be there.
Yeah, I understand. Well, the problem is it's going to be very fun this time. Too fun for you, so we're going to swap you out and get a wonderful guest star in here. But Leo, it's been a pleasure, and we'll see you next time, sir.
Bye, everybody.
You going to clap, Chief?
What's that?
Leo, you want to clap out of here? Sarah Podzorski!
Wow.
Dear friend of the show returns. Do you remember the last episode you're on? I'm trying to remember.
I was on one of the podcasts.
Okay,
and then it was us.
Yes, and then you were on The Deepest Dive for Animal Crossing, and people might recognize your voice from 8-4Play, that podcast. You have localized for a number of games. You've produced games, yes?
Yep. I am now a corporate shill. But that's okay.
How does it feel?
It pays the bills.
Cool, man.
It pays them bills, so I don't complain.
She'll pays bills.
Hey, I'm one of those two as well now, so, high five.
High five.
Yeah, Kyle, we talked about it a lot on the MinnFax, our Patreon exclusive podcast, but how's the new job going? Anything new to report?
No, it's going good. I'm having a good time. I'm learning a lot of stuff. It's cool.
From the publisher perspective?
No, I'm interesting behind the scenes stuff that I was always trying to get out of people as a journalist that I never could.
It's weird being on the other
not
side. Not
secrets, by the way. I'm not spreading rumors or anything. Just things like budgets and stuff like that. It's I've always been curious about that kind of stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, Sarah, what have you learned in your role?
So I went from obviously localization to community management to production and then marketing. And for me, it's always the timelines. The timeline in which some of these assets, especially in marketing or for games, have got out the door are much shorter than you would imagine. We're literally racing to the finish line and scrubbing it, and we're get it out, get it out, get it out. So it's pretty chaotic. Also the approval process. Whenever I see a AAA game trailer, any kind of PlayStation event, anything, I just look at it and I'm how many people had to look at this trailer? How many cooks were in this kitchen just to get this trailer out? Because everybody has an opinion, from your boss to your boss's boss to your mom, and it's just
And then
gotta get your mom on that email thread.
Mm-hmm.
Let's copy her in there.
God, Kyle,
Mom.
I think you were a Game Informer for this. I don't know how much you remember it, but even with all that approval, there's still weird things like happen where I remember, I think it was a trailer for Ground Zeroes that was sent over and it's like, okay, Konami embargoed it for this time at Game Informer, put it up then. And so we put it up in the back end ready to go. And then like right before it was about to go live, they sent out another email like, oh, for the love of God, don't run that. Turns out we don't have the rights to use that music that's in the trailer.
That happens all the time. That happens all the time.
How? Either you have approval or don't,
it's
right?
It's because like companies get so big and people leave. So like Bob, who was on the legal department for 25 years, doesn't work here anymore. You bring in somebody new, they think, oh, this is fine, we own this. And then halfway through, somebody pops up at the last second, probably from your legal department, and they're like, hey, so we actually don't have the rights to any of these specific voices. Like maybe you own the characters, but you don't own the voices.
Oh my God.
Like, yeah, it's a mess.
This is why I appreciate the Patreon supporters and for just making this like a very clear handshake transaction of you support us on Patreon and we will give you media content. No lawyers involved. It'll be just fantastic. But anyways, speaking of Patreon supporters, we got a lot of questions. And the first are a couple that relate to something that I think you can speak to. Robbie Flanagan says, good morrow, friends. With the seemingly runaway success of Genshin Impact, with its gacha roots but full and robust gameplay and voice work, do you see it as a game that will kick off a series of games in a similar style, a la Resident Evil bringing the survival horror genre into being, and Genshin's ancestor Breath of the Wild? Do you think Genshin is a sign of things to come? Is it starting anything for just having a huge AAA production be free to play like this?
I think this is something we'll have to see. Because like we've seen things like Puzzle and Dragons, which isn't necessarily a AAA production. It's a mobile game that's been alive for several years and they're raking it in. It's sort of like, is it worth the effort of making a AAA game?
Right.
Because I mean, I'm playing it and I might put a little bit of money into it, but I'm certainly not going to be a whale. So it's like, how much are the whales lifting? I guess is the question.
Yeah, they say they have 50 million
so
players.
Many players, even if you get 60% of that giving a little money, like I don't know, I think it is it's not a future I'm super excited about, but I totally think it's is a sign of the future for sure.
Well, what do you think of it, Kyle? I mean, you're a huge Breath of the Wild fan.
Yeah, I'm struggling with it. It's too dense for me, I think, and it's like it's also the things that I admire about it is it looks great. The gacha mechanics are really in the background. I don't even know where to go to spend money on the game.
Wow,
which is cool. Like,
that's crazy.
Impressive. But like it's too complex for me. Like going into the menus is very complicated, and then like every time you use a new like weapon, there's a tutorial about what it's good against and stuff like that. And it's like it's just a lot. And then the other thing that just doesn't work for me personally is like, and maybe it's just because I'm not quite I'm the right person for that game in the sense that it's heavily inspired by Breath of the Wild. I love climbing things. I love exploring. I love jumping off of high heights and flying. I don't want any other characters. I would be perfectly happy just playing as the same character the whole game. Yeah, I don't like switching. This is not the
game for you.
Kyle's a famous monogamist.
Yeah, well, I just don't like switching characters. I don't want to have to change out my party depending on like what weapons I want to use and stuff like that. I want everything to be localized on one character so I can focus on the less I can spend time in the menus, the better, is always kind of like what I like about games. So like there's a lot of Genshin Impact that's really engaging and interesting, and then there's a lot of stuff that's like really not appealing to me at all, but I want to keep going with it. Even though I feel like I'm like sort of wading through mud right now.
I feel like I'm being compelled to play. I feel like similarly, but in like a different fashion. But I feel like there's something compelling me to play. Like I'm
waiting for that to cross that line where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to go to that next mark on the map. And I haven't quite gotten there yet, but I want to.
Is it just trying to understand like the system, Sarah? Do you feel like you're like tasting the food in your mouth? Like, do I like this?
For me, it just seems like the barrier for playing is so low. Like you get your waifu, you run around, you hit stuff, you explore, you do quests, and it's just easy.
Yeah.
To me, it's like it's simple. I pick my waifus, I swap I hit stuff, collect stuff, pick up stuff, and I like that aspect. I'm just waiting to hit the paywall. And I feel like I'm just like slowly inching closer and closer to where it's like my waifus suddenly aren't good enough, or like I don't have the levels, I don't have like a stacked team.
Right. You have to
like
pay
leveling
to make them
up.
better looking.
Like I'm just hitting X and I'm just like leveling until I stop based on some like mysterious
You're getting
kind
packs
of
or something
that I don't know where I'm getting it from.
You have like
I think
special
if I just
paper?
understand it mechanically more, I will be more excited about leveling up and finding things. But right now it's just like it's just too dense. I don't know.
Yeah, leveling is more of a transaction.
Yeah.
I feel like for me this feels less like, oh, every game is going to be a gacha now, because this just feels like another iteration of free to play games, right? Because we've had a lot of other genres do that, but this feels like the biggest kind of like hardcore single player game to be completely free to play, in a sense, where a lot of free to play stuff was like, Dota, like a lot of multiplayer stuff that felt like, okay, if I want to look cool while I'm playing these matches, then I can buy the loot boxes or whatever. Whereas this feels very like, okay, I don't necessarily need a group of friends to do this, and it has those like free to play hooks. So I think if this ends up being successful, which who knows, right? Because I think a lot of what I've heard,
I think it already is, man.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like wait and see. I think it is. Yeah.
I think long term, I'm curious to see what this is, because I think I've seen kind of reports of like, yeah, spending money on this game doesn't actually get you as much as you'd want. It doesn't feel like you're breaking the game by spending a bunch of money on it, which is, in some sense like good, but it's like how is that going to compel people to keep spending? But I think this is gonna, if it ends up being like massively successful, I think what it ends up being is that like people stop looking at free to play as like, well, we have to put multiplayer in this game so that there's an avenue for free to play stuff, versus like not that this is going to happen, but it's like, hey, we can just make a game like God of War 2 free and then throw in all this gacha stuff, right? And I'm not saying that God of War is going to do that, but it's like a game on the scale of God of War, which is, primarily a single player game, but with like, instead of paying for it, you pay for like cosmetics and stuff.
Yeah, it is a weird phenomenon. It is a weird success story in the industry. But yeah, I mean, Dan Tack from Game Informer gave it like a 9.25. Like, he's championed this thing. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah. I mean, like, knowing Dan Tack as we do, he's like our namesake. He's very much into min-maxing. Like, he loves sort of digging. And Joe Juba, I think, really likes it too, to reference more Game Informer people, of like that idea of like really digging into the stats and like getting it perfect. Like, that's just not particularly appealing to me, but I want to keep going with it. I really, yeah.
Joe Kovchinsky and also Bob Beal in the Backstage Pass right now are just asking, like, is it too much of a ripoff? Does it go for too much?
No, it has its own identity.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. Basically,
yeah. Like, because it's like climbing animation looks similar, jumping off and using like the paraglider looks similar, but I really do think like once you dig into it, it has its own thing. Like, it definitely feels different.
The overworld's very similar, but that gameplay is not as similar. And I've kind of shut down people trying to get me to compare them. They're like, what do you like better, Breath of the Wild or Genshin Impact? And I'm like, you can't. They're not the same.
Right.
I will not pick one over
Breath
the
of the
other.
Wild.
But it's
Breath of the Wild has puzzles, so
they're not even competing on the same playing field, like, in my opinion.
Right. Save that for Immortals when that comes out. The classic Rise of Phoenix. Then we'll get that head to head. Flaming Queso writes in, when you get stuck at a part in a video game, do you enjoy looking up help on the internet, or does it frustrate you? For me, I really don't like it when I have to look up help on the internet. I feel like the game should give me all the tools I need to solve the game itself. How do you feel about it? I feel like it's just become such a staple for me, especially, I don't want to point fingers, but Super Mario 64, some of those like star hints where it's just like, bang the wall. I'm like, what am I supposed to do
just
here?
A shoulder shrug emoji.
Yeah, so I've been Googling so many just simple little tips of where to go for Super Mario 64, but does anybody enjoy the process of looking stuff up?
I hate it. I'm embarrassed when I have to do it. I had to do it a lot for Tony Hawk recently.
Oh,
like, how do I open that door so I can go get that secret tape? And like, I feel gross doing it. I really don't like it.
Especially when you get those like weird shell articles where it's like, we'll put in more data later. And it just like, it looks like someone just got it up for SEO. And it's like some weird IGN.
Or like the articles that are like way too long for what you're looking for, and like the name of the article will be like how to open that door in Tony Hawk, and they'll start like, well, Tony Hawk was born in 19 whatever, and it's like this really long history that contextualizes the thing, and I don't need that context. But I try to avoid it as much as possible. But with Mario 64 actually specifically, there were a couple of like, if I'm not enjoying the level specifically,
right,
I think that's when I'm more likely to look something up.
Yes.
Yeah, for me, it's the YouTube videos. Now that you bring up the really long articles, I hate when I'm like, how do I get here? And a YouTube video pops up. I'm like, can you just tell? I don't want to watch it. Can you just, in like 2 sentences, tell me how to get there?
Kyle, as the world's biggest Stadia defender, and you can't question it, do they have that implementation that they teased at GDC in 2019 where they said that you could like hit a button and it would like know where you are in the game and then show you a YouTube walkthrough that would match the screen exactly? Is that in the system at this point?
I mean, I don't think so.
Oh.
I mean, I never saw myself using that. Like I'm much quicker to just use my phone and try to Google it myself.
I don't know. There's some specific
in
areas I can see that being helpful. Like I think their example is like stuck on a tomb in Tomb Raider or something, where it's like, okay, instead of trying to get
my
like
pessimism of how it could possibly work. You know what I mean? Because like it can see that I'm in the Tony Hawk, San Francisco level, but it's like, do you know that I'm trying to get the secret tape?
Right.
You know, like
After
I just need that
30 minutes of
specificity.
walking in circles, they immediately push you like an advertisement to a YouTube video. Like, do you need this? Do you
can help you.
I feel like the algorithm needs to be a lot better before they can be like, how do I up there?
Yeah,
go up there.
Yeah, but I don't think it was implemented yet. I don't think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, what are you gonna do? Holden Hints writes in, says every medium. This is an interesting take. Every medium other than video games allows you to pick it up from any point. Is that true? You can read the last pages of Lord of the Rings before starting, or skip straight to Luke finding out who his father is. Should we be able to skip boss fights and or choose where and what we want to play of each video game right from the start?
Yes.
From the start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alone in the Dark, I think it was 2006, did that. You could chapter select through the whole game, and it was great.
Weird. Did you do it?
You know what I did? Because like I missed a story sequence, and I was able to go back and just like watch that one part that I missed, that I accidentally skipped the cutscene or something. Huh. And then also I was able to see the alternate endings without having to play a bunch.
Yeah,
I love it.
So.
I do it. Like the Master Chief Collection kind of did that. Where
you're right.
Go wherever you want.
You're right. That was really fun just to go in there and be like, just jump through all those different levels. You kind of get a little bit confused.
You want to play all the tank levels? Go for it. Right. And so just remove it from the remaster treatment and actually just give it to the base games is the theory. Yeah. All right. Maybe Holden's got a point. Strange Sloth says, my girlfriend and I are making a list for October. She's handling 13 scary movies for the first half of October, and I'm doing 13 games for the second half. So I have a game for you all. Rank these games that I've selected from scariest to least scariest. All right. Are you ready for this? We can probably simplify it for just
like we're going to need to keep a running list.
We can just track like top of the list, bottom of the list type of stuff. Okay. Scariest to least scariest. Dead Space 1, Man of Medan, Night in the Woods, The Forest, Little Nightmares, Outlast 2, Slayaway Camp. Does anyone know what Slayaway Camp is? All right. I'll remove it from the list. Maid of Sker. Does anyone know that one?
Nope. No.
All right. Let's assume they're very scary. Resident Evil 2 Remake, Hello Neighbor, Evil Within 2, Costume Quest, Amnesia Collection. All right. So least scary is Costume Quest by a mile, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would almost immediately follow it up with Night in the Woods. I don't think that game is really all that scary.
She does have nightmare eyes.
I was like, is that the indie darling Night in the Woods?
Yeah, I think so. Okay, so that's bottom.
I think Costume Quest is bottom, then Night in the Woods, because Night in the Moments has like maybe moments where you're like, I think this is scary, but then it's not.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, I mean, you never know who's going to answer the door in Costume Quest with the trick or treating. Like, it is a terrifying proposition. Scariest. Serial, you know Amnesia. You love Amnesia. Is it top of this list?
I'd have to see. I'd have to read the other entries, but I would say the collection would rank pretty highly. I think
because the collection isn't just 2 games. Are there 3 games?
Well, it's like Amnesia, the DLC Justine, which if you're replaying Amnesia for the new one, I would definitely not skip because it's really good. And then A Machine for Pigs.
Okay. All right. So that's up there. I mean, I was freaked out by Resident Evil 2 remake. I don't know where you guys would rank that.
That might be up there. I think just because the remake with Mr. X in there, I think it's like really anxiety inducing in a way that I think you can say is horror of like, I don't want to deal with Mr. X right now. I really just don't want him to pop in. Yeah, there he is. Okay, great. I'll just turn around.
Yeah.
I'd put it above Dead Space. And I haven't played a lot of it, but Evil Within, maybe Serial or Sarah. I don't know if you guys have played that one.
This is Evil Within 2.
Evil Within 2.
I think I've seen Evil Within.
I would say Evil Within 2, especially in the first few hours, is scarier than Resident Evil 2.
Yeah,
we so resource starved that it is very tense the entire time until you get like more like the shotgun basically.
I remember talking to our friend Brandon at the Acme Comedy Club.
Oh wow,
I'm sure you guys know him.
Our old friend.
And he was like talking about Evil Within, and he was like, I played the first 10 minutes, and I couldn't. I had to stop. I shut it off. I couldn't play anymore. So I'm gonna go off on that and have it kind of high.
That's up there. Backstage pass, folks. BeatenDownBrian. He says Outlast 2 should be pretty high. That game is intense as all heck. Okay. I haven't played the Outlast games.
Outlast are always pretty scary. Some of these are like longer games, and then while some of these are like shorter games, and to me they're like Amnesia is kind of like a runaway game versus games where you have a gun. I don't know. Like those are two different kind of horror games for me. And then The Forest is like a resource game. So
where there's like creepy forest people that are scary, but it takes a while even to get to them. Yeah. So that's kind of somewhere near the middle, I think. All right, so probably Amnesia Collection number 1. Outlast 2. All right, there you go, Strange Sloth.
Amnesia and Outlast are my top. But also Soma. Have you played Soma? That's on the list, but I really love Soma.
Soma's just like good. I don't know that it's like the scariest game, but it's like it would be my favorite game on that list, I think.
Yeah. I'm the most unnerved by Soma.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then those are the developers that are making the next Amnesia, right, Surreal?
Yeah, Frictional.
Okay, there we go. And when's that coming out? It's soon, right?
That's the 20th.
Wow, yeah. White Max says, I've been replaying Pokemon Fire Red, and I've been reminded of how annoying status condition effects are. My question to you all is, which is the worst, and why is it confusion? That is correct. It is actually confusion.
It's sleep, man.
Sleep's worse than confusion?
Yeah.
But with sleep, at least you know what's going on. But confusion, to have this frustrating coin toss every time, and then the stupid wording that's been there since 1998 of it hurt itself and it's confusion. I mean, it's funny and it's.
I don't like anything that just like totally eliminates gameplay. Like it just shuts it off. It's like, well, you get to do nothing now. Have fun.
Yeah, I guess so. Even like,
I feel like the logic of sleep is more sound of if you get attacked, you'll wake up. So it's like, okay, at least I will take one hit of damage versus confusion where you could potentially hurt yourself and then the enemy gets to hurt you for free again. So it's like, it almost feels like I would rather be asleep just so I know what I'm getting into versus like, I don't know if this is going to work.
And then if we expand beyond Pokemon, I think the worst status effect is specifically Atomic Bomberman. There is a way you can get sick that'll give you bomb diarrhea. And it makes like loud farting sounds. And then it just, every bomb you have in your arsenal is just flying out of you at all times. And it is the worst. You just got to just sprint and just hope that you can navigate it in a snake-like way. It's very fun. James Smith writes in and says, hey, with Crash 4 releasing the great reviews and the industry's growing taste for old IP, do you think platformers are on their way back in? No, I think there's a fun bubble right now where it seems like 2020, there's a lot of platformers rising.
A lot of next-gen stuff is like Ratchet and...
that's true.
The game whose title we will never remember that you called correctly the moment they showed the title.
Oh, you mean Kenna Bridge of Spirits?
Yes. That looks like a platformer.
Yeah, Astro's Playroom.
There's a little resurgence here.
Sackboy. You're right. Yeah, maybe that'll be the test, is how well those will sell. But again, this is all based on just, how it feels. But it bums me out that it feels like Crash is not getting that much love. And I think it's cementing that idea that we talked about when we talked about the Tony Hawk remake, where it's like, people just want to feel like they're 12 years old again and they're buying these remakes. But if they were to make a new Tony Hawk game that played as well as the remake did, I don't think it would sell that well. And I think that's what's happening with Crash, right? Like people just want the nostalgia of platformers. They don't really want new platforming experiences, is my theory.
Yeah.
That's a good theory.
All right.
I mean, I think in the indie space, you're seeing a lot of platformers still, but I don't think a lot of them are breaking out, on the level that something like Crash is. So I think if you're like a big platformer fan, I think there are games out there, but I don't, like if you're a general gaming fan, I don't think you're getting a lot of like, oh, you should play this platformer versus like just genre fans.
Yeah.
Also a Balan Wonderland too.
Yes, that was the one for the Sonic.
People keep bringing that up to me.
Really? Why?
And I should, because of the very similar Chow Garden, I believe.
They have wait, because you're obsessed with the Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure 2.
Yes, I am obsessed with the Chow Garden from Sonic Adventure 2. I am obsessed with it. It is a game within a game, and it's the only game worth playing in Sonic Adventure 2.
It's the best part of Sonic Adventure 2. Yes, absolutely. It's the reason to go back to play those games is because you can raise little bubble-looking children, and then you get to make them do karate.
And then you put them in the Olympics, and you watch them run.
And then accidentally throw them at the wall because you pressed the wrong button.
Or on purpose, because you need to...
I need to turn you into a devil child. Eat wall.
Eat wall. Wait, so what? They have something like that then in Balan Wonderland?
Apparently. I believe it's something called, like, the Tims. The Tims. And it's very similar. This is what I've been told. People keep coming to me, and they're like, Sarah, you gotta check...
That sounds cool.
You gotta check out the Tims.
Gotta check out the Tims. Place to be. Hans Kleinenberg asks, first, what's your take on the steep Patreon income drop, and how would you explain it? Good question. We had a bit of a dip this month that, believe it or not, makes me lose sleep. I think it's a couple of the big supporters dropping their tier down, so I'm not fully panicking, but it is one of those moments of just like... Please stop dropping. Okay, we have leveled again. All right, because it's very tough running a Patreon because you have to like figure out like, okay, these are the expenses, these are, salaries, and then when that shifts in a big way on the Patreon side, it's like, oh God, all right, but we're okay, I think. Thank you. And then Hans asks, second, or would you play Fatal Frame 2 for Extra Life? That is a very good question.
Is that accessible?
I would play it unasked. You don't have to ask me, and I would play that game.
Have you played it before?
And I think I played the Wii U demo, and I loved it. But I was like, I really just can't give money to this. But I really love it.
I'm curious if it would still terrify me as much as it did back then. It is still, in my mind, the scariest game I've ever played. But I was also, 12, sitting in a dark basement playing it by myself, convinced that there were ghosts surrounding my house anyway. So it was just pure nightmares. But yeah, we've been talking about doing kind of a horror themed stream. And so if I still own it on PlayStation 2, I don't know, I might have traded into GameStop years and years ago because it was cursed. Wait, no, I see it back there. Yeah, maybe we could boot that up. That'd be a fun one to play. Hang on, I got to remember to write that down as an option for some sort of horror stream, maybe around our anniversary, which is coming up on October 24th. Kaju Will. Serial and Kyle, this one's for you. It's an oldie but a goodie. First time question here. I just joined the Patreon this week. Thank you, Kaju Will. Saying glad to finally be a part of the team, which leads to my question. We had this question a lot back in the day, and we just kind of let it drift off to sea, but it's never been resolved. What is our name? Are we also CLCs? Are we min-mins? Are we computer-loving cohorts loving cohorts? How can I refer to myself when my wife asks about this Patreon charge on the credit card? Remember this? It was like, we got to come up with some name for the community, because thank God that newspaper called us computer-loving cohorts and gave us that name. That helped a lot. But
so wait, we're the computer-loving cohorts?
Yeah, I think so.
Or because I like the idea of, the supporters being called the CLCs. They're the computer-loving cohorts.
I mean, that's different than how they've been phrasing it. But, we were debating, like, is it just min-maxers for the community? Minions with 2 N's, ministry with 2 N's. Hang on, Sarah's wincing at a lot of these.
No, I'm not. No,
I mean, coming from the localization scene, you're an expert of language. We've always known.
Yes.
Do you have any ideas? What should the community call itself?
I like computer-loving cohorts, and then you can just call them the cohorts. You can just call them, don't call them the minions, don't call them the ministry.
Okay, deleting these
Min-maxers, that's okay, right? Because that gets the full name in there.
Yeah, min-maxers is okay.
I feel like people call themselves min-maxers, so like you're losing your audience, you're losing your focus. How do they separate from people who just say they min-max things for fun?
Right.
Cohort is definitely an antiquated term, so we can reclaim it. That domain is available in the public mind. I don't know.
Yeah, man, I get it. All right, that's pretty good. So they don't love computers like we do, but they're just the cohorts?
I mean, they can still love computers.
Okay.
The computer-loving cohorts, but shorten it to cohorts to make it a little bit catchier.
Yeah.
A little bit zingier.
You're so smart. What was your greatest victory in localization? Did you name something and be like, by God, I've done it. This is the perfect word.
A lot of things. Okay, so one of my greatest victories was I was naming a cow. I have a few, but one of them was naming some cows in a game. And I was like, what if I name one of them Moo and it had a baby? I'm like, what if I name one Moo and then I name the other one Mini Moo? And nobody took that up against me. The other thing I do is I just get in front of a lot of bad accents.
You what?
I get in front of a lot of bad accents.
Because
sometimes
want them to be in the
People
game.
will write in, they're like, this is going to be a Cockney accent, it's going to be Scottish. And I'm like, do we have a voice person who can do that? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, I'm throwing my body in front of it. We're not doing that.
But it's probably coming from like the writers loving old JRPGs. Yes. And it's like, well, you know, all these old Final Fantasy characters, they all have wacky ways of speaking. But when you actually have to voice that, it's like, don't do it. It's a nightmare.
It's a hard no.
Oh, God.
But yeah, it's...
I know
I've dodged some bullets.
Thank you for your service.
You'll never know what I've done.
The wall. Thank you so much. I'm amazed by like the remote recording for VO sessions now with the pandemic and like how that works and just...
It's actually... So you're talking about remote voice recording, right?
Yeah. I don't know how the voice quality is going to be up to par when they're just like sending a microphone to Troy Baker's house or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine he has a home recording studio.
All right. Maybe he does.
And I saw that in the Hades documentary that NoClip produced, they talk about the process of the composer, Darren Korb, basically having to buy and install a home recording booth that was like however big and him having to like spend the entire day setting it up so he can do actual recording in there. So I imagine if you're like a professional voice actor, you're basically having to do that now, but it is a matter of like, is this my expense? And do I charge more for it, you know, when I talk to clients, or does a client pay for that and that comes out of my reimbursement fee or whatever?
Do you think like a year from now, hardcore fans will be able to tell, even like the animated film world, be able to tell like these voices sound a little bit different? Like just there's something about the timbre of the room that they were recorded in where you can tell that it was a funky recording. Don't you think?
But I mean, 99% of people won't.
Yeah, of course.
You might.
I just hope that I hope there's a Rosetta thread talking about like you can hear the impact of home recording because of COVID on this game. I pray that happens, but I'm a nerd.
You pray that voice acting gets worse?
That's right. For the sake of curiosity. Victor Pham writes in, the question for you, Sarah, saying Animal Crossing came in hot at the beginning of the year, but do you think it will still be in the discussion for Game of the Year?
That's not fair to take it out just because it came out first.
As a Kentucky Route Zero fan, I agree.
It is weird. Like even just last night, I was hanging out with some friends outside and we were all talking about like, oh God, remember Animal Crossing? Oh, I wish I played more of that.
This year.
I know, but it's so bizarre to talk about it because it feels like, oh, they really fell off. Maybe it wasn't that fun. But then it's like, well, we all spent hundreds of hours in it. Like it was a victory, even if we've fallen off, right? Mm-hmm. But what's your...
I mean, I don't really know who gets final say of Game of the Year. I don't know how that even works.
Yep.
Is it just him in his room with like Crash Bandicoot or something? Like...
Well, I think the question comes down to, which is like, as someone who's been involved in a lot of Game of the Year discussions, it's not like the time frame. It's not like you kick something out that came out in January. Just the stuff you've played recently is more fresh in your mind. So you think about it.
It always
more,
happens.
You know, and that's what it comes down to. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think I've specifically made a note this year to revisit like Half-Life Alyx, Doom Eternal, and Kentucky Route Zero, which were the games that I was really hot on earlier in the year. And I'm going to try to take specific times to replay those just so that they're fresher in my memory. And I'm not like, well, I don't necessarily remember a ton about these games because they came out earlier in the year, whereas I'm really hot on stuff like Hades now. So I do want to make that effort.
Yeah, it's nice to have the refresher course. Let me go in and try playing Final Fantasy VII on hard mode or even doing like the VR simulations, just like remind myself of how good it is and why it's clearly Game of the Year. Sarah, do you have an hour count for Animal Crossing at this point?
An hour count? Not yet. I haven't checked. I don't look. I'm still playing. Halloween event is out. Plant your pumpkins.
But I remember, I mean, you were up there. You were in the, what, 300?
I was like 500.
Okay. That's amazing. Oh my God.
But that's like an MMO, right?
Yeah.
I have like 500 hours in Final Fantasy 14. Okay, but that's like spread out more, but that's also not the point.
Ooh, what do you think about, as a big 14 fan, what do you think about 16 so far?
Honestly, when I first saw the trailer, I thought it was Final Fantasy 14. That's how similar it looked. I was like, oh my God, are they just making a Final Fantasy 14 game? But it looks really similar based on the names. I'm super excited for it because Final Fantasy 14... If you're looking for that MMO, just get to Shadowbringers. It's like playing a Final Fantasy game.
It's good.
An MMO.
It's good. Can I jump right to that, or is it just they've sped up the process? But
you can. I think it's an option now. You can skip the early, like the first story, the first, like the expansion or something, because it's like it's not good.
Yeah.
It was like during the game's life when they were still it was on life support, and they keep adding random quests, but you can skip that and they can put you somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
Where you're not going to, give up.
Yeah, I played it, I think, before that expansion. I maybe played like 30 hours, and I liked it. It's always one of those that I've just been debating, like, should I go back to that? I also kind of want to go back to Old Republic. There's enough MMO stuff in the backlog that I'm meaning to get to. But there was a story talking about how long they've been working on 16. And so I visited Square for the Final Fantasy 15 cover story trip, which was early 2016. And back then it was like, very hush hush. But the 14 producer, Yoshi P, what is that what he's referred to?
Yeah.
Yeah. That like, it was clear that he was leading up the next Final Fantasy. So I don't know how far they were in development, but even back in early 2016, it was a thing that he was in charge of the next Final Fantasy. So that's so
exciting.
Yeah, been in the oven hopefully for a while. So maybe it'll be releasing sooner than we expect, but I don't know anything beyond that. Tactical Dreamer writes in and says, I played Final Fantasy Tactics earlier this year because I love strategy games and I never finished it, but it wasn't very fun. It was more of a homework game than a fun experience for me. What are some games that you would consider homework games?
The original Final Fantasy VII. I keep trying to play it.
Yeah, it's the ultimate homework experience.
It's not going well. It hasn't been going well for the last 15 years.
You'll have a fine time. Use the 3 times speed. It'll be great.
Yeah. But it feels like one that I'm embarrassed to admit I haven't beaten the original Final Fantasy VII. It's kind of like how I feel about it,
I feel this way about like adventure games, I think. Those always feel like such a slog to just pay the respect, go through this amazing genre, but in terms of genres that have not aged well, where it's just, all right, I'm just going to look at a walkthrough and just plow through this sucker just to experience it.
Yeah, that was a little bit my experience with Grim Fandango, which I think it's a great game, but I didn't want to put up with like a lot of the really obscure puzzles, and that actually kind of impacted the experience because there are some things that if you kind of go through just, okay, here's immediately where you should go for the solution, you are actually like missing out on explicit story beats because I think that game almost partially relies on you exploring and not getting things right to some extent.
Yeah.
So I feel like that I got like a very kind of clipped version of that game story because I was like, I don't want to put up with like puzzles and stuff. I'll just get the solution immediately.
Right.
But otherwise, I don't think I would have gotten through it.
Yeah, but you're glad you did, right?
I'm glad I did, but I feel like I would have probably maybe benefited from watching a Let's Play where someone is more thorough and does do everything.
Yeah. Remember that stupid puzzle in that game with like the ship and the anchor on the chain going underneath it? That's the one where on my last replay of Grim Fandango, I was like, what? Make a note, never play through this game again and stick to your fond memories because, oh my God, the puzzle sucks. Brenton says, hey y'all, why haven't we gotten rid of comment sections? I can see how a comparatively smaller channel like MinnMax would find them helpful in getting suggestions or gauging reception. I don't see what is gained from larger news outlets having them. They seem to do more bad than good every single time, especially on sites with more toxic communities. That being said, I'm an aggressively antisocial person, so I'd love to hear what you outgoing people think. What would the ramifications if a company like IGN removed their comment section tomorrow be? Good question.
Popular Science did it, right? A couple of years ago.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, because their argument, which I really loved, was like opening it up to the floor is not good science. You know what I mean?
It ended up leading to people posting like misinformation stuff, right? And then like it kind of cluttering up the point of the article. It's just like, hey, this is thing, and then someone being like, well, I heard this completely dumb, stupid thing, and people would be like, I don't know which one to believe. But
it's a good question though. Yeah.
I can give a lot of insight to this because I work in marketing.
Please.
But a lot of ways marketers judge like impact of a social post is by what we call engagement, which is comments. Because comments, when you leave a comment, you're like expending more energy than just giving a like.
Yeah, it's getting that mind share.
And how algorithms work. So how algorithms work on like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, probably all your other sites, how algorithms work is things that have more comments get more views. So even if the comments could be absolutely garbage, horrible, dumpster fire, but even if they're mad, you're still boosting that article. So for big things like YouTube and like big companies, they don't really care if half the comments are bad, as long as you're contributing to that algorithm.
That's so dark and sad. But I mean,
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
Sorry to just pull back the curtain on that one.
No, that's fine.
That's why YouTube hid the comments. Like you can't even if you try to find YouTube comments, you have to scroll.
Yeah, and then like unfurl that thing. I still like. I like reading YouTube comments, maybe because I'm numb to it in this job where I've read so many horrific comments about myself and my coworkers that it's almost just it's so absurd to me at this point. I understand being a guy, I think it's a lot easier to read those comments as well. But like, I still like reading YouTube comments on whatever video I'm watching, just for a little entertainment. You know, if I'm watching like, you know, this clip and it's 5 minutes long or something, or you're bored 3 minutes in, like, let's just see what other people are saying about this. Like, I like having that as an option. So I hope they aren't, you know, deleted for every platform, as long as you're just bracing for impact that this is going to be an S show down there, and let's just see what people are gravitating towards, because it's always unexpected.
It's always, I also imagine it like that's, you know, it's sort of where the evil is contained. Whereas I think if IGN removed their comment section, I imagine like people who are really passionate about telling people what they thought about The Last of Us 2 would just email the author directly. And I think when you're confining them to the comments, like the writer can just, like, if they know this is gonna be like a really comment heavy article, they can just kind of ignore the comments and kind of saves themselves that guff. Whereas if there weren't comments, they would just be getting a bunch of emails. And I'm sure people still get emails and stuff for like the biggest stuff, but I think that there is some value in like just all your dumb thoughts, just throw them in here,
and then hopefully just do the YouTube thing of minimizing it so it's still hard to see. You really have to go out of your way to kind of unfurl that sucker.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking of terrible comments, Christopher Castillo writes in, he seems like a fine guy, but he wrote in with a podcast game. I call it Ratchet and Clank Swing, Hit, or Miss. The goal of the game is to correctly identify which titles below are swings, which are known working or pitch titles for the Ratchet and Clank series, hits, meaning actual titles, or misses, which means that they're completely fake Ratchet and Clank titles. So this sounds like it'd be easy, but in the swing category, it includes comic titles for Ratchet and Clank. Apparently there's a bunch of Ratchet and Clank comics.
And also like names that were surfaced that were like, we almost called it this.
Yes.
Those are in there too?
Yep. Okay. Yep. Okay. These are dumb. Kyle, Ratchet and Clank Going Commando.
That's a hit, baby.
That's a hit. All right. Very easy. Serial, Ratchet and Clank Fiends with Benefits.
I'm going to say this a swing.
As a swing, a known working or pitch title or comic book title. Sarah, Ratchet and Clank Rip You a New One.
Oh my God.
Miss, correct.
Okay, cool.
That's tough because that's a weapon in the game.
Oh.
The rhino.
See, I didn't know that, and I just went on the fact that would never be approved.
Well, some of these are they're getting close here. It's interesting
some of these shouldn't have been approved, probably.
I like that Ratchet and Clank, like, as, you know, the series has gotten bigger, and especially now that Sony, you know, fully owns Insomniac, I feel like those names are getting less sexual and innuendo-ized, but there's a weird early 2000s window here. Okay, Kyle, Ratchet and Clank Clock Blockers.
That's a hit, right?
No, that's a swing. It was something. Let's see what this is. I wish he included what these things actually are. The original subtitle for A Crack in Time was Clock Blockers.
Ah, okay. Yeah, it sounded familiar. I thought maybe it was like a PSN game or something.
Oh, boy. Sarah, Ratchet and Clank Getting Cocky?
Miss.
That's a miss. Didn't exist. Okay. Serial, Ratchet and Clank Size Matters.
That's a hit.
That is a hit. Correct. Ratchet and Clank Kyle Foreplay.
Is that a swing?
That is a swing.
Wow. Okay, because it was like a multiplayer. Maybe Deadlocked? Is that what it became?
No, this was the, oh my God, All for One. A working title for Ratchet and Clank All for One, which was the 4-player co-op game from their North Carolina studio. It's an odd one. Foreplay, like your old podcast, Sarah. I ate Foreplay. Look at that.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Wow.
I didn't put that together until now. Now I get to sit with that for the rest of the day. Thank you.
Hope you enjoy it. Speaking of enjoying things, this is not to be enjoyed. Kyle, Ratchet and Clank Multiple Organisms.
Well, hold on. First of all, was it my turn?
I'm just giving this one to you.
It is now.
Okay. I think that's a miss.
This was a a comic book, the Ratchet and Clank Multiple Organisms. Oh boy, that's it. This is a weird game. Thank you for writing in, Christopher Castillo. Ratchet and Clank Weird Series. Oh, actually, one more. Sarah, Ratchet and Clank Bang Bang Bang.
I want to say hit. No.
Trick question. It was a Japanese comic spin-off titled Ratchet and Clank Bang 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 Critical Danger of the Galaxy Legend. So
sounds amazing.
There we go. Good job, Ratchet and Clank. Hunter S. Sachs writes in and says, the feel-good question of the week. Many years ago, my 65-year-old grandfather started playing video games in order to spend more time with me. He became more core audience than I did. 100% completion of GTA San Andreas and Oblivion and many others. Oblivion? This last winter, me and my partner got a Switch. She hadn't really played games before. She's now farther in Hades than I am, beat Breath of the Wild before I could, and now shows and recommends games to me. Are there any people in your lives that you thought wouldn't be into games that ended up surprising you?
There weren't people I was particularly close with, but I feel like in high school, I ran into a lot of people that it was a big revelation for me that they were like into games. Like I had this one friend, Joey, who was like big, huge class clown, very charismatic, went out and partied a lot with the cool kids. And I found out that he was like the world's biggest Chrono Trigger fan. And I was like, what? I was like, I had that experience a bunch of times where people surprised me by being like into obscure games, you know?
Yeah, I do love that. Like, especially back when I was on the cool dating scene, it was always fun because at some point video games come up because my job would come up. And then it was just always just this crazy crapshoot of whatever game the person was really into. Like, one person dated, she's like, I didn't really play games growing up. I guess I played one nonstop, and it was Willow for the NES. I was like, what a weird... Somebody else was like, I'm really into Commander Keen, and only Commander Keen. It's like, just like how these certain games...
I have good news and ultimately bad news for you.
Oh, the turbulent life of a Commander Keen fan. Yeah, but I guess that's just a lesson. You see it with celebrities too, but everybody's playing games these days. Anyways, Matt Robinson writes in. He plays games and says, hello, gang. Hope you're all doing well. With the upcoming release of Cyberpunk and the fact that Keanu's in it, I have a game for you. The following is a list of celebrities. Your job is to tell me what games they or just their voices have appeared in. We'll see if anybody can guess. All right. Christopher Walken.
Nolan North.
Does anybody remember a game that Christopher Walken has appeared in?
So real quick, is this they all have been in a game, it's just a matter of figuring out which one?
Yes. Or? Yep.
Okay.
Christopher Walken apparently has been in 4 games, which is shocking.
Wow.
Good job.
Is that good?
Oh, I don't know. Really good. Oh my God. One is a 1996 point-and-click adventure
game video or something.
That's right. Weapon of choice. That was a Ratchet and Clank game, I think. Ripper is an old adventure game that apparently he's in. Privateer 2, The Darkening, and then True Crime Streets of LA and True Crime Streets of New York. He was in. Jesus.
Right. Yeah, him and Snoop Dogg, right?
All right, here's an easier one. Liam Neeson. Can anybody think of a game he was in?
Star Wars Episode 1.
There we go, Serial. Fallout 3. Kyle, you're getting close, though. He was in one other video game that is based on a movie that he was in that is very up your alley.
Batman Begins.
Up your crime alley. Batman Begins. Way to go.
They had the whole cast in there. That's wild. I remember there's behind the scenes footage on that disc of Michael Caine being like, what the f*** am I doing here?
Really?
Yeah.
Get me out of this game. Matthew Perry.
That'll be Fallout New Vegas.
I remember you bringing that up before, Kyle.
Dude's a huge gamer. Loves Klonoa.
What? Really?
Yeah. Google Matthew Perry and Klonoa. You'll find a great quote from him about Klonoa.
Hey, speaking of Klonoa, you know what's a really weird moment in Crash Bandicoot 4? Is when Embryo, that beloved character, he turns into a pterodactyl, and then he just looks at the camera and goes, "My cloaca!" And then like an egg falls out of him. But like in a video game, it's just this weird moment where he's screaming about his cloaca. Anyways, Gary Coleman.
Postal.
Yes, Postal 2. And this is insane. Gary Coleman was in The Curse of Monkey Island?
I feel like those are two very different Gary Colemans.
That Is it? It could be. Who knows? Okay, Phil Collins was in a game. Can anybody remember what he was in?
Vice City.
Close, not quite. Very close.
Stories?
Yes, way to go, Surreal. Vice City Stories. Phil Collins was in.
So confident. Rug pulled out from under me.
So close. Burt Reynolds.
Saints Row the Third.
Way to go. And apparently he was in another game that's very similar genre, but more popular.
Vice City again?
Yes, Vice City. Way to go.
Okay.
Keep guessing Vice City eventually.
Ben Kingsley.
Ooh, is there an Iron Man 3 video game?
No. Great guess, though.
He was in the Prince of Persia movie. Was he in the Prince of Persia game that came out around the same time?
Number one. And
in the name of the King of Dungeon Cell, was there a game based on that?
No, like a Street Fighter, the movie, the game situation. No, he was in a game that everybody knows and loves. Say it with me. Ceremony of Innocence. I don't know what that game is.
Is it a Castlevania game? That sounds like...
Oh, interesting.
It does, yeah.
Hang on. Yeah, that can't be though, can it? Ceremony of Innocence, CD-ROM based game released in 1997.
There's Lament of Innocence.
But then he's also in Fable 3, apparently.
Really?
Yeah.
Along with the Monty Python guy whose name is escaping me right now.
Oh, really? I don't remember. Okay. Chloe Grace Moretz.
Dishonored.
Sonic?
Dishonored.
Oh, yes. Good call, Kyle. Dishonored 1. Way to go. And
Susan Sarandon.
She was in Susan Sarandon, correct? Way to go. No, it's think about what's one of her famous films. We're all Chloe.
But she was in Dishonored though. But
you're not guessing other actresses. You're asking what other games Chloe was in.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant who else was in Dishonored. Well, me and Surreal clearly both.
You nailed it. I'm very impressed. What film is Chloe Grace Moretz known for?
Kick-Ass?
There we go. Kick-Ass the game.
The game?
Yeah, apparently that came out. And of course, everybody's favorite, Billy Bob Thornton.
Deadly Creatures.
Yes, Surreal. Deadly Creatures for the win.
And Dennis Hopper.
That's right.
Amazing. That's absurd. Thank you to everybody that wrote in with a question or comment, all that fun stuff. Question of the week. Sarah, you're a guest of honor. Did one stand out to you?
Wait, now I have to go back and open the questions.
I know. Let's see. There's the Genshin Impact, talking about the impact of that game. I hope you guys have played it. Platformers coming back.
The no comments one I thought was good.
No comments.
That's
interesting one. Talking about jumping into a game at any point. Everybody's favorite Ratchet and Clank innuendo game. Did anything stand out?
I like the no comment one probably.
All right. There we go. That is Brenton. Congratulations, Brenton. You've just won some Monument Valley plushies. Thank you so much to IM8bit for shipping that out. And again, you can you can submit a comment on Patreon in the future, and we'll read your question on the show. Now it's time for something called Get a Load of This. Kyle, because you were saying that you didn't have a good one before we started, let's start with yours. You're dud.
Sure. I have the, this isn't a great one. It's got a disappointing ending, but
great.
tptoriginals.org, which is like Twin Cities PBS, posted the story. King Kong, Minnesota, population : Mario. Can Minnesota lay claim to the giant beast and the Nintendo icon? And I was like, oh, what is this about? Like, I was really curious about it, and I was like, I wanted to see what they're getting at, and it ultimately comes down to the fact that Marion C. Cooper, who made the movie King Kong, like the original King Kong movie, and came up with the idea and everything, was a reporter at the Minneapolis Daily News, and he worked with someone there. He met someone there who wrote like the novelization of King Kong, and then that's the thread they tug on to be like, and King Kong kind of inspired Donkey Kong.
That is an epic stretch.
And I was like, I don't know. I thought maybe it would be more intricate and interesting, so I was a little underwhelmed by it. So,
they really
but I don't know.
You in with that one.
Yeah.
I kind of felt. Yeah, so I don't know. Sorry. Is that a disappointing get a load of this?
It's not going to be as long as you go back in and just leave a scathing comment just to keep the cycle rolling. We'd really appreciate it. Yeah. Hey,
but I did learn a lot about the history of, the making of King Kong. So
yeah, that's good, man. Hey, get a load of this. Friend of the show, John Ricciardi, retweeted the news that came out this week that apparently in Japan on the PlayStation 5, the confirm button on the PlayStation 5 is going to be X instead of circle, which it has been since the beginning of the PlayStation. This is stunning news, and it's going to confuse a lot of people in Japan. Sarah, since you lived in Japan for a while, can you explain the X versus circle thing and why it's flippy flopped over there?
I don't know exactly I believe it had something to do. So X is always confirm in Japan. No, X is always no, and then circle is yes.
Right.
You can go like this. You can make a little circle over your head to say yes, and you can cross your hands to say no. So it's always just been accepted that, a circle is yes and an X is no. And when I would play PlayStation 4 in Japan, I got really used to that. And then I moved back to the US and I don't know where any of the buttons are.
It's such
and
a
I
mess.
think the Switch had something to do with how previous controllers worked, and they were afraid that Americans wouldn't be able to figure out that the buttons were swapped. Or something.
Yeah, because when it came to the West with the original PlayStation, it was, in the West, it's X marks the spot. X should be confirmed. Yeah. But then it's just that weird thing of culturally. So I'm confused in Japan, the circle over your head to say yes.
Yeah.
In what situation would that be used? Like a game show or something?
Well, yeah, or it's mostly, I got a lot of the X in Japan, because it's the scrub doesn't speak Japanese, and I got a lot of
don't talk to me,
can I do this? And they'd just be
right.
I mean, is it thumbs up, thumbs down? Is that kind of the Japanese
basically
equivalent?
What it is. But I've only seen in anime, they do the circle over the head, or there's there's that emoji. If you look at your emojis, there's a character with doing the circle hands, and then one doing the X hands. And
you can see it in certain Japanese games. I'm trying to think of an example. Maybe a Mario.
Metal Gear.
Well, Metal Gear, yes, that's a good example. It wasn't where I was going with it, but yes, that one sticks with it in the West, which is cool. But even a game, I think Incredible Crisis for a deep cut PlayStation 1 game or something, if you complete the mini game, it'll give you the red circle saying good job, Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, it's weird that this is flipping, and I'm sure people are going to be very confused. But I know with the PS4, they eventually let you flip it system wide. So maybe, I don't know why they wouldn't put that in there again for the PlayStation 5. It's really odd.
And just to clarify for me, we're not talking about a physical change. It wasn't the hardware the buttons were swapped, right?
No.
It was just the meaning. Okay, gotcha.
Right,
okay.
Right. Anyways, Sarah, did you have one this week?
Oh, well, I was mostly excited about the announcement of the Super Nintendo World launching in Japan officially in 2021. They're opening a little cafe for it in October. So people can come in, get some goodies. But I noticed one of the goodies is, Mario has a pancake hat. That's their dessert. It's it's a little Mario hat with whipped cream in it. And Mario gets delicious strawberries. And then Luigi gets green grapes. And I'm sorry, but you cannot compare the two. I'm sorry, Luigi, he gets the short end of the stick here too.
Yeah, I mean, also in Japan, since it's green, wouldn't it be melon flavored? Isn't that a big thing in Japan?
They really missed an opportunity there. But yeah, I just thought it was funny.
I was
Luigi
confused.
Missing out again.
I saw a tweet about that weirdo thing, and they have a pharmacy there, but it's not Dr. Mario's pharmacy. It's what?
A pharmacy in the terms of an old diner where you'd go to the pharmacy and you'd get your soda pop at the counter, and then you'd get your cocaine or something next to it. I don't.
Yeah, that medicine, right? Yeah,
the medicine.
It's a different.
Makes you feel good.
I was also thrown off because it does say pharmacy.
Yeah,
but it definitely was supposed to give off a diner vibe.
Weird. I don't get it. Serial, you got one?
Yeah. So this is a tweet that comes from the Ultimate Mario Fan at the Ulti Mario Fan that says, when sillies say that Mario has, quote, no personality, end quote, I point to them to Mario's descriptive profile from Nintendo's official 1992 character manual. And I tracked this down a little bit, and apparently it is from the book, I think, Console Wars. The author mentioned this is some research material that I ran across, and it gives you kind of all these personality traits that Mario that Nintendo had given Mario.
Okay.
In 92, and I just want to read some brief excerpts from it because it's pretty long. But So they talk about, he grew up in Brooklyn or whatever, but just like there's a sentence of like, this is like the intro. This is like the cover page of his profile. This says, Mario is good-natured, but unflagging in his crusade for justice and clean bathroom fixtures. And so they have all these like Mario the man, Mario is adventurous, Mario is brave, Mario is curious, Mario is resourceful. And then they come upon Mario is tolerant. He'll accept anyone or anything at face value. He treats anyone and anything with dignity and respect. He has seen too many things in his travels to be narrow-minded.
What a weird angle.
Way to be progressive.
And then the longest section is Mario is loyal. So it would say like, so he's like, hey, like Mario loves Peach, and so that's why he always saves her. But then they also talk about Mario is also a good family man. He loves his brother Luigi and tries to take care of this young plumber's apprentice. Someday, Mario plans to retire and turn the business over to Luigi. Someday.
That's weird.
The year of Luigi was like a test run.
Then that brought up the question of, if Mario's ready to retire, isn't Luigi like in
right behind him
age?
Yeah.
Like, Luigi would also be ready to retire. So do you just give it to a Toad? Like,
yeah. So
the plan is not well thought out.
What is the age difference between Mario and Luigi? Because they mentioned like even as of Odyssey, Mario is like 25. So Luigi's gonna be waiting a long time.
Well, hang on.
For him to retire.
What was it? There was something, recently where it was some Nintendo thing where like, oh yeah, Mario is. Wait, no, you Google it. Oh, that's the age of the series. That's confusing. Yeah, Mario's 26 years old, Nintendo claims.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like it's a really fun thing to read if you have time to like what Nintendo thought who Mario was versus now, where they don't even, I think, say he's not even a plumber. But the last sentence is, in short, sorry, the one thing Mario isn't is tall. Mario is the kind of guy kids would love to hang out with ... all day long.
Wait, is that like...
It's beautiful, man.
They say play more video games with Mario.
Yeah.
All day. Play all day.
Don't leave us. We had to get a load of this from the community Discord as well. We have a channel dedicated to people posting a lot of great stuff all the time. And this is from Fred the Ghost in the community, posted this chart showing usage of Steam throughout the year. And naturally, of course, there is a spike every weekend of people using Steam. But then since the quarantine, since like March, it's amazing because you can watch it go from like zigzaggy spikes to then just this smooth curve, because weekends no longer mean anything. And it like mirrors the same curve that happens normally around like the holidays, like Christmas break or something. And now it's just one smooth gaming ride. It's just bizarre to see COVID impacting the Steam charts, everybody. Fun data. Thank you, everybody in the Discord that posts all those great get-a-loads of this. Kyle, anything you'd like to plug?
Vote, for the love of God, please vote.
Be like Mario.
Every week. If I'm not here to actively plug it myself, just assume that I want you to vote.
Every time you're listening to the podcast, you're screaming. It's just, you're one Google search away of just figuring out how to vote early, how to take care of this. And then
iwillvote.com is very helpful for me to figure out how to vote early. So let's plug that site.
I already voted. I got my ballot on Saturday.
Nice.
Yeah, that's the Los Angeles life.
God, you're living it up. Yeah, here's
do not leave your house. Here, take this.
Here's a specific request too. Like, you can do it now, you can do it on voting day or whatever, but everybody can think of like 3 people they know in their life that might be on the fence about voting. You know, I could see, some people, some friends like, I don't know at some point. Just go ahead and text them at some point, asking them or sending them a link to, what's the site again, Kyle?
I think iwillvote.com.
Okay. Yes.
Let me just check that. But,
just take care of your friends that are trying to be lazy.
Yeah, and with there being so much of an initiative to send in your ballot versus going to the booth, if you have time, try to do the research on like on the down ballot candidates, because it's not like, I've gone into the voting booth a few times and said like, well, I can read the parties and kind of make my assumptions based on that, but it's like once you're kind of getting into judges and like a lot of the smaller roles, it's hard to like, these are just 2 names I don't know. So do a little like, you can now Google those names instead of just filling in one bubble and hoping for the best. So if you have time, you should definitely do that research.
That's a good point. On a much lighter note, MinnMax stuff this week. We posted Better Quest, our big, huge community call-in show all about getting better with Jeff Cork. That's up on our YouTube channel and in the Patreon exclusive podcast feed as well. That's a fun time talking about our goals. Sarah, get a load of this. My goal this month that I talked about on the podcast is something that was very uncomfortable, where I made an anonymous survey about like my personality and qualities and how I am as a friend, and I sent it out to 40 of my friends.
You have 40 friends?
I was also surprised by that. It turns out you have 40.
I don't know where I would send that.
You can send it our way. Cyril and Kyle, did you guys fill that out? It was anonymous, so I don't know.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird experience.
I took it seriously.
Thank you. Yes, I had to keep screaming, please no jokes, please no jokes. So I go through the results of all those anonymous surveys on Better Questions.
Yeah, you can't tell it's me, but I'm the one who did all jokes.
Oh, that was very funny, yeah.
And not related to the question. It was just knock jokes the whole way down.
It's killer, man. Also, we have a new episode of our music podcast, Crossfade, coming up on Friday, and Ana Diaz is on this episode, and they're talking about Frank Ocean.
Wait, so I got to download it and put it on an SD card and then put it in the 3DS?
But it's the only way to listen to Crossfade, our music podcast. But no, they're reviewing Blonde from Frank Ocean and then King, an album from King as well, so you can check that out.
Blonde, one of my favorite albums of all time, so I'm excited to hear it.
Is that right? Yeah, there are a lot of people that are like, Frank Ocean. I was like, I've never...
That album is incredible.
All right. Well, you can listen to Crossfade, our music podcast, to learn all about it. And then also check out the grand finale for Super Mario 64, The Deepest Dive, all that fun stuff. Sarah, what would you like to plug?
I have Twitter at SarahPods. I have a Twitch stream. I stream 4 times a week, also at SarahPods. And then I also have a YouTube channel where I upload some from compilations of my Twitch stream. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Check it out. We'll have links below. Also one more plug is the MinnMax subreddit. There's, the Discord is hopping. It's great. It's a great friendly community, but I noticed the people on the subreddit were like, oh, they never talk about us. So if you're looking for a place where you don't have to support us on Patreon to have a MinnMax community, you can go check out that subreddit, share some links, jump in the comments. They seem nice so far. So check that out too. And thank you to everybody that supports us at the $50 tier who gets a plug at the end of the podcast here. We have the Bam Box, I Am 8-Bit, Mirko Arico-Torreno, Zachary Pligge, Rebekah Lang, BeatenDownBrian, Bryan with a Y, Captain Stubbs 1, Mark Seliga, Jawarhello, Ludwig Roque, Andrew Vala, Jesse Vitelli, Sam Miami 83, Thomas Hoster, Snake 24, Yarrow, William Garcia, SpiralInYourEyes, Richard Smuts, Spider Dan, Alex Payne, Preetham Yarlagadda, JT Fels, Steve Bamdad, and Kris. Thank you so much, everybody. Be good, have fun, let's go!